the last great general of the fallen kingdom of Goguryeo, Gao Zhentian. At the moment of defeat, he and his elite black-armored ghost horse squad were plunged into another world. It's a strange land where all kinds of races live: elves, orcs, dwarves, mages. If they can't go back, the only option is to build a new Goguryeo from scratch. So Gao Zhentian raised his flag again, setting out to conquer the continent. The battlefield was pure chaos, with bodies piling up everywhere. But then the cavalry charged, their riders leveling their spears and ramming into the enemy lines like a damn battering ram. In a flash, the number of soldiers taken out by the cavalry just kept climbing. The flag of Goguryeo flew high over the battlefield until it was suddenly slashed down. Now it was just lying in the dirt. A second later, some general stomped on it, using it as a springboard to launch himself at the enemy commander. The guy swung his weapon and totally decked the enemy general, knocking him clean off his horse. His arms were jacked, and his foot was still planted on the enemy's corpse. Weizi Fulu, vice captain of Goguryeo's black-armored ghost horse squad. He struggled for a second, trying to pull his axe out of the dead general, but for some reason, Fulu couldn't get it loose. What the hell is with this thing? Just then, some enemy creep tried to sneak up on him, but before he could even make a move, he was sent flying. An arrow was sticking out of his chest as he dropped. Fulu saw the arrow and knew exactly who it was. He glanced to the side. Weiji Wulu, archer for Goguryeo's black-armored ghost horse squad, had a smug look plastered all over his face. Wulu just had to rub it in. Don't you ever say we're twins. He barely finished his sentence before Fulu's axe came flying right at him. The guy threw it without a second thought, but he was aiming for the enemy soldier right behind Wulu. The two brothers froze and stared at each other for a beat. Fulu spoke up. If it wasn't for your big bro, you'd be dead. Hearing that, Wulu just cracked a huge, excited grin. But then, a horseman charged past them. He watched the rider spur his horse forward, and holy crap, the dude's sword was literally dripping with water. He swung his blade at the enemy forces, and instantly, two massive water dragons materialized and crashed into them. The soldiers were just tossed around like rag dolls by the magic. Both Wulu and Fulu just stood there watching, smiling like idiots. The rider turned his head back toward them. Yan Hui Jialin, sorcerer of Goguryeo's black-armored ghost horse squad. Jialin coldly reminded them, try to fight a little more efficiently. These are Grand Premier Yon Gesomun's forces. Then suddenly, another sound got their attention. In the distance, a cloud of white smoke was rolling toward the enemy lines. But as it got closer, a single figure on horseback emerged, moving so fast the enemy soldiers panicked and couldn't even react. A single spear was enough to skewer several guys at once. The soldier screamed in pain, not even getting a clear look at his killer before he was thrown into the air. The enemy soldiers were all totally stunned and terrified. That was him, the man known as the fierce emperor of Goguryeo. He then spurred his horse hard, charging straight into the heart of the enemy army. Everywhere he went, enemy soldiers fell. Suddenly, he yanked on the reins, standing majestically before his three commanders. He brought his horse to a stop. The Grand Marshal of Goguryeo, captain of the black-armored ghost horse squad, slowly removed his helmet. Grand Marshal, a sixth-rank official of Goguryeo, Gao Zhentian. Gao Zhentian immediately gave the order, Wulu, left flank. Fulu, right flank. Jialin bowed his head to receive his instructions. Raise the flag of the three-legged crow high. And just like that, they advanced, proud and unstoppable. A cloud of dust billowed behind him as his cavalry followed in a long, unbroken line. The army's morale was through the roof. To them, being from a fallen nation meant absolutely nothing. Gao Zhentian. Zhentian's eyes narrowed as he roared, all forces, charge! Instantly, the thunder of hooves shook the heavens as they galloped forward. The two armies smashed into each other at the same time. All they wanted was to protect their collapsing Goguryeo. The battle got more and more brutal as they fought without rest. Fulu swung his axe with savage force, cutting down enemy soldiers, while Jialin's magic sent them flying high into the air. The enemy soldiers screamed in terror when they saw him. Run! They're war demons! A dying enemy soldier, in agony, forced his eyes open to look up. The blood-red flag of the three-legged crow was flying high. Our flag. It's flying. Red. The red three-legged crow. He then choked on his own blood and died. By then, the tide had completely turned. The enemy was in a full-blown retreat, trying desperately to escape the Goguryeo forces hunting them down. And as the black armor crashed in like a tide, the enemy lost all will to fight. As Goguryeo fell, Gao Zhentian glanced down cautiously. They had arrived in the new world. He never expected that below the cliff would be an entire army of monsters, all of them massive and ferocious. They were roaring, savage, and terrifying, but he remained perfectly calm, not even flinching. His commanders and troops moved up behind him. There, they would rebuild the ruined Goguryeo and carry on the will of the Goguryeo Empire. Their fierce emperor, Gao Zhentian, yelled out, raising his sword high before swinging it forward with all his might. "Let the hunt begin!" At his command, the entire cavalry roared in unison, to lead without ruling. And just like that, they spurred their horses and charged straight down the rocky cliff. Instead of protecting, they would forge strength for self-defense. The soldiers followed, swarming forward without a moment's hesitation. That was the most glorious title in this land. The monsters charged forward to meet them. Gao Zhentian calmly took aim with his sword. He swung it high with a cold, hard motion. And we shall call him the Steel Emperor. Excerpt from the first chapter, Memoirs of the Grand Mage Xiaomon Li, year 666 AD. The guardian deity of Goguryeo, Grand Premier Yeongaesumun, has passed away. The death of Yeongaesumun caused a massive split in Goguryeo, and there was no one left in the kingdom who could stop the 100,000-strong army of the Tang dynasty. In the year 668 AD, the executioner heard the order and immediately swung his blade. He coldly beheaded the prisoner without hesitation. The others, tied up and waiting to be executed, watched in absolute horror. The barbarian soldiers just kept going. They dragged the corpse away and forced the next person onto the block, ignoring the pleas and cries of the people begging for mercy. "Father," those bastards just stood below, laughing and mocking them. Look at the little Goguryeo insects tremble. A second later, they decided to execute a young boy. The soldier sneered, a disgusting grin on his face, as the boy trembled in fear. He stammered, "Spare me, please spare me." But the soldier didn't give a damn and just mocked him. Blame fate for being born in the wrong country. Just then, the soldier suddenly collapsed to the ground. Everyone was stunned as an arrow, appearing from nowhere, struck his hand. The enemy general narrowed his eyes, searching the distance where someone was approaching. A whole squad of soldiers was charging forward on horseback. "It's the enemy!" a soldier shouted in panic, pointing at the flag they were carrying. "The red three-legged crow!" They were all frozen for a second before they started screaming in chaos. "Yo, it's the freaking demon armor squad. The Goguryeo cavalry's here. Our boys are charging, picking up steam. The enemy general is losing his mind, screaming, 'Don't panic!'" They hear him, but they're still shaking in their boots. That jackass general just smirks, holding his spear all cool like, 3,000 against 100,000 Tang troops? Talk about delusional. You worthless bugs are about to get squashed. You're not even worth my time. He sees the Goguryeo army closing in, digs his heels into his horse, and charges, yelling out an order. "I'll show you what the Demon Armor Squad's general is all about. Catch this. Our cavalry is a freaking juggernaut, totally unstoppable." A razor-sharp sword flashes, and Gao Zhentian is ice cold, leading the charge. The two generals go head-to-head, but the dude doesn't even get a chance to attack before he gets sliced wide open. His soldiers just freeze up and scream, "General! One hit! He took down our general in just one hit." Gao Zhentian plows right into the enemy lines. Every swing of his sword is a massacre, blood everywhere. The enemy soldiers are just glued to the ground, gaping at him in pure terror as he glares them down. Right on cue, our guys storm in behind him, following his lead. The enemy is just screaming, "Stop him!" Those guys are running around like headless chickens, totally crushed by the sheer force of the Goguryeo army. You can hear them screaming their heads off, but their shields are useless against the storm of arrows. Swords are just slicing right through them. Our red flag flies high over the battlefield. Then we move in fast to rescue the civilians they took hostage. Some enemy grunt is on the ground, gasping for air. He grits his teeth and whispers, "The Demon Armor Squad." And then one of our guys just lops his head clean off. "You worthless scum." Bodies are piled up everywhere. Gao Zhentian is still a total beast, taking out enemy soldiers one by one, his eyes blazing with fury. Then one of our guys yells out, "General!" More Tang troops swarming in from behind. Gao Zhentian whips his head around, gives Ka Lin a look, and orders, "Get to Pyongyang Castle. Hold back the enemy wing and get the civilians out of here. On it, Daisy." Then he tells the brothers Wei Wei Shi, Wu Lu, Fu Lu, and Wu Lu to stop the enemy from chasing us down. They reply, "Don't you worry." Gao Zhentian grips his spear tight. He stares straight ahead and says, "I'll clear the path." He kicks his horse into a full gallop, and all by himself, Gao Zhentian charges into the enemy ranks to make a path. The civilians run right behind him, while he just keeps swinging that spear, trying to break through their trap. The civilians bolt, sticking close behind him. "Keep moving, don't look back." And just like that, thanks to Gao Zhentian, they all break through the enemy line. Only then does he finally glance over his shoulder. He sees that the civvies all made it out safe, with our boys holding back the enemy grunts behind them. Then suddenly, a voice calls out, "General, let me fight." It's some civilian, bowing his head to Gao Zhentian. "I want to protect my family and Goguryeo myself." "Dad," a kid next to him immediately objects, declaring, No way, Dad, I'll fight. The general just quietly looks over at the kid, who says firmly, General, please let me fight. Their intense gazes lock. Gao Zhentian just calmly asks, you know how to ride a horse? Can't fight if you can't ride. The kid stammers, well, about that. General. Then the general turns to Ka Lin and tells him to give the man a warhorse. Damn. The guy puts a hand on his kid's shoulder. He says, real gentle like, okay son, you go. Protect your mom and your siblings. And with that, he leaps onto the horse. Gao Zhentian barks another order. The old, the young, the wounded get to Pyongyang Castle. Now. The kid has no choice but to listen, and turns back as his dad rides off like a total badass. Dad, I'll protect Mom and the others. You better come back alive. Meanwhile, the enemy army's numbers are insane. They're still chasing our guys down, but Gao Zhentian just raises his spear and points it right at them. He glares and screams, don't let a single one of them get away. The whole army hears him and roars back. Sir, yes sir. By now, our people have made it to the castle gate. They're pounding on it, desperate. Open up, please. Let us in. They're looking up at the gate, begging, open the gate, please. But the soldiers up there just stare back, not giving a crap, letting the people scream and cry their hearts out. Meanwhile, inside the capital, the emperor is pissed, slamming his fist on his throne. He's clenching his hand, totally furious. The emperor grits his teeth, muttering, Captain of the Guard, is there really nothing we can do? The last key to Goguryeo's imperial treasure. His officials are just kneeling there, too scared to even look up. Just kill me, your majesty. There are too many of them. Hearing this, the emperor just starts laughing like a maniac. Then he goes dead silent, gritting his teeth. His whole body is shaking, and tears just start rolling down his face. The captain sees this and is totally shocked, stammering, Your Majesty, you have to get out of here before they close in. This is Dae Woo-deok, the captain of the guard for the last emperor. He just looks up and cries out in despair. The nation Jumong built. I couldn't protect it. Even if I run, where the hell am I supposed to go? Dae Woo-deok reports, I've got a boat ready. We have to head south and regroup our army. But the emperor just sighs, clenching his fist and muttering, regroup our army? The emperor's totally given up. Who's gonna fight for us? But Dae Woo-deok yells, what about Daisy Gao Zhentian? We still have him. Hearing that, the emperor snaps out of his funk, totally shocked. The Daisy. He's still here? Then he gives an order. Captain of the guard. Yes, your majesty? I have one last request for you. The emperor then turns to the side, his face all serious. Dae Woo-deok looks too, and sees the queen, holding the young prince. Meanwhile, back on the battlefield, the guy who asked to fight is already dead. Gao Zhentian just silently looks down at his body and frowns. He thinks to himself, your death. Your son will never forget it. The whole battlefield is a mess of bodies, and there's still a massive horde of enemy soldiers right in front of them. Damn Tang grunts, like a bunch of ants that don't know when to quit. Behind the general, Fu Lu turns to mess with Wu Lu. You shaking yet? Fu Lu's all hyped up, challenging him. Let's see who can rack up a higher kill count. Heh, sounds fun. Ka Lin turns to the general and says, the situation's already turned against us. Really? Gao Zhentian replies, totally calm. Guess there's no backing down now. The Weiwei Ji Wulu brothers behind them jump in, all excited. Daisy, how about a little competition between you and us, little demons? See who gets the highest score. Loser has to go pull the King of Hell's beard. He just murmurs back. A bet, you say? All of them are grinning, totally into it. Then Gao Zhentian raises an eyebrow, a spark of excitement in his eyes. Sounds like fun. When the rest of the army hears that, their morale just explodes. They all start laughing, and you can hear it for miles. The Goguryeo army was facing down 100,000 enemy soldiers, and Ka Lin just smiled right along with them. He glanced at his soldiers. No fear, just as calm as ever. Yeah, none of them were afraid of the enemy right in front of them. Ka Lin then turned to look at Gao Zhentian. He closed his eyes and let out a long sigh. This final battlefield was going to be a real party. Then, Gao Zhentian raised his spear high. The soldiers immediately snapped to attention, their morale off the charts. He growled, declaring that absolutely no one would set foot in Pyongyang City. Just then, the city gates finally creaked open. A general slowly rode out on his horse. Gao Zhentian glanced back as the commander approached, holding up an imperial edict and reading it out loud. Great General Gao Zhentian, by order of Emperor Lai, the entire army will retreat immediately. His eyes widened in disbelief when he heard the order, and just like that, they started pulling back their troops. Wu Lu couldn't help but ask, if we retreat, won't Pyongyang City be in danger? Fu Lu just shot back, Emperor Li has it all figured out. The edict at the time ordered them to move to the ships prepared at the port and wait for the next command. Ka Lin chimed in, telling him the same thing. Looks like Emperor Lai is planning to head south by boat to rally his forces. Suddenly, Gao Zhentian glanced to the side. A carriage was just lying there, all wrecked in the middle of the road. Ha! Real smart. The two brothers sneered. Tear the whole damn country apart and then run away. What a pathetic coward. I should have punched a hole straight through his gut. Just then, a soldier came running. General! He sprinted towards him, completely out of breath, and immediately reported, a Tang cavalry unit of 500 is chasing a carriage that just left Pyongyang City. Ga Lin pressed, another noble trying to escape? The soldier was frantic. No. On that carriage, the one desperately trying to get away. It's flying Emperor Li's banner. Soldiers were running flat out right next to the carriage. A commander screamed out an order. Royal Guard, don't let a single arrow get through. Stay close to the carriage. The enemy horde was right on their tail. Seeing how bad things were, a commander spoke up. General, I'll buy us some time. You go on ahead. With that, he wheeled his horse around to hold them off. What did you say? Don't you dare. 10 rearguard cavalry, with me. Da De Wudok was stunned, yelling for him to stop. Vice captain of the guard, but the man charged the enemy without a second thought. The commander shouted with adrenaline pumping, General Yuan, get His Highness to safety. And with that, he plunged straight towards the enemy forces. Even though it was a suicide run, the commander got stabbed, but he just gritted his teeth and took it. Just like that, the commander was stabbed again and slammed hard onto the ground. The other soldiers were also cut down by the enemy. After dealing with them, the enemy leader spurred his horse, speeding up the chase. Almost got him. Da De Wudok couldn't help but look back, but he just squeezed his eyes shut in resignation. Vice captain. While he was lost in thought, an arrow suddenly came flying right at him. It looked like it was about to pierce him straight through. His eyes instantly reflected the incoming threat. But unbelievably, the arrow zipped right past him and flew behind. It struck the enemy captain, who had been leading the charge, and the guy just dropped from his horse. Up ahead, Gao Zhentian's army had arrived just in time to back them up. Seeing that flag fluttering in the distance, Da De Wudok's eyes filled with tears of relief. He and his soldiers were galloping at full speed. Gao Zhentian's army reached them, split into two formations, and passed right by the carriage. The enemy troops just stood there, waiting. He rode his horse right up in front of the man. Gao Zhentian spoke, captain of the guard. Then he just urged his horse and rode past. Da De Wudok was dead silent. He gritted his teeth and gave the order. Entire army, don't let a single one of them escape. Charge. The soldiers instantly surged forward. The enemy side was kind of surprised by this. A second later, they were getting run through by the Goguryeo soldiers' spears. They charged forward screaming, Die, you damn war freaks. But before they could even do anything, their weapons were knocked right out of their hands. An arrow flew out, taking down an enemy soldier. Wu Lu just smirked, totally pleased with himself. 1 shot, 2 kills. You get it? Meanwhile, Fu Lu swung the axe in his hand, casually lopping off an enemy's head before giving a smug grin. I am Wei Wei Ji Wulu Fu Lu, and I'm gonna crush every last one of you. Our army just kept charging, attacking them head on. That's when Gao Zhentian finally asked, Captain of the Guard, is Emperor Li in there? Da De Wudok answered, looking completely out of it. No. This made him stare in pure shock. Then who is it? The next words shocked Gao Zhentian even more. It's His Highness, the Crown Prince. He was silent for a moment, his brow furrowed in confusion. Gao Zhentian glanced over at the carriage, which had now escaped safely. His soldiers had managed to protect His Highness and get him to safety. Gao Zhentian rode his horse alongside, his brow knitted tight, not saying a word. He remembered what he'd just heard from Da De Wudok. Was that really an edict from His Majesty? The man lowered his head sadly as he recounted the events. Yes, the former emperor gave the order, escort the crown prince to safety by boat. Gao Zhentian glanced at the palanquin beside them, his brow furrowed in thought. The group kept moving, and fast. The trail at the foot of the mountain led to the river, exactly where the king had ordered them to go. Ga Lin turned and said, At this rate, we should reach our destination by the time the sun comes up. But suddenly, a soldier shouted from behind them, General! He immediately whipped around to look. It was the enemy. Looking down from the cliffs, they could see enemy troops chasing after them, their cavalry closing the distance fast. Damn bastards. These mutts are actually chasing us? The Fu Lu brothers said excitedly. Let me put an arrow through their skulls and see how they like it. Wu Lu, you better save some for me. Gao Zhentian didn't hesitate and gave his order, Ghost Demon Squad, with me. We're hitting the rear of the Tong army's formation. The rest of you, guard His Highness. And just like that, they split into 2 groups and took off. Charge! The enemy was also rushing forward, hyped up. The Goguryeo army is over there. He and his soldiers were already waiting for them. Seeing his chance, Gao Zhentian turned and gave the signal. Wu Lu, fire at will. The enemy army thundered towards them at full gallop. Wei Wei Zhi, Wu Lu raised the bow in his hand. They took aim and waited for the order. He was practically buzzing with excitement. 1 shot, 2 kills. As soon as he said it, the arrow was loosed. The rest of the squad immediately followed, firing in succession. The arrows rained down on the enemy forces, causing countless soldiers to get hit and fall from their horses. Gao Zhentian also spurred his horse forward, charging headfirst into the enemy for some close-quarters combat. His troops followed right behind him. He swung his spear, cutting down an enemy soldier. Up on the cliff, the enemy commander was watching the battle intently. Meanwhile, the palanquin was being escorted away as fast as possible. The Empress was inside, holding His Highness, the Crown Prince. The carriage is hauling ass, trying to escape. Our boys are holding the line with everything they've got, trying to block the enemy. Shields up. A volley of arrows rains down on him, and the enemy just keeps charging like idiots flying into a flame. But the shield wall holds. Our guys are fighting their asses off, refusing to let those bastards pass. Some soldier raises his sword and screams, "We gotta hold these scumbags back, till His Highness the Son of Heaven is safe on the boat." Dude's got no fear, just bossing everyone around. Hold out till the Grand Emissary arrives. Ki Yong-tam, the Goguryeo swordsman. The enemy bastards are already closing in. Ki Yong-tam just launches himself at them like a rocket. Those enemy goons are just standing there, all cocky. Their leader is staring us down with this crap-eating grin. I'm Wei Zhongxian, garrison general of the Great Tang Dynasty. Gao Zhentian gives him a look of pure disgust, and this clown is actually trying to get him to switch sides. If you surrender right now, I'll report directly to His Majesty the Emperor, and give you the honor of fighting under me to serve the Great Tang Empire. The garrison general laughs smugly. So, what do you think? My guy says nothing, just gives a little nod. The moron actually buys it and starts laughing his head off, but he doesn't get to gloat for long before an arrow rips straight through his skull. You made the right choice. I'll even make you my right-hand man. Turns out it was Wu Lu in the back, drawing his bow. And get this, the arrow went clean through and nailed another enemy grunt behind him. The old guy just scoffs sarcastically. Son of a bitch, do all you Tang losers fight dirty? That dude looks just like Li Shimin. Seeing their general eat dirt, the soldiers freak out. General, Gao Zhentian turns his head and just says, "Go." He snatches an axe and bellows, "All troops." The whole army goes dead silent, listening. And just like that, a storm of axes flies right at them. The enemy grunts don't even know what hit them. Then the cavalry charges in, stomping all over their stupid faces. Gao Zhentian plows his horse right into the enemy horde. Meanwhile, back at the port, everyone's still desperately trying to hold their ground and protect the Son of Heaven. Ki Yong-tam and his crew are totally gassed, panting for breath. Then, suddenly, a sound from far off. It's his army, returning to back them up. He totally loses it, screaming, "It's the army's Grand Emissary!" Everyone goes wild with cheers. Then they immediately start hustling. The Tang army is right on our heels. Everyone on the boats, now. Go, full speed. Just like that, the ships pull out of the harbor and hit the open sea. All the enemy losers can do is stand there and watch. The ship gets away clean. The rest of the fleet follows, cutting through the waves as the sun sets. His Highness, the Son of Heaven, is finally safe. Gao Zhentian holds the prince in his arms, relieved, and then turns to ask. The name of the Son of Heaven, with the title Emperor Yanli, is Wuqi. He then asks again, "All right, what is His Majesty's next command?" But Dade Wudiok is dead silent, not saying another word. He just looks down, completely helpless, like he can't hold it in anymore. Gao Zhentian screams at him, "Guard Commander, where the hell is His Majesty?" Finally, Dade Wudok reaches into his armor and pulls something out. He hands it over. Emperor Lai, Quoterast, has passed on. He's shocked when he sees what it is. Gao Zhentian hands the prince off and takes the item. It's an imperial decree from His Majesty. I give you one final command, my brother. Take this child and what's left of our people and go far away. Go somewhere very far away and live in peace. The soldiers on the ship stare into the distance, totally confused. This is my final plea to you. After reading it, Gao Zhentian's brow furrows in rage. He crushes His Majesty's final decree in his hand. A man who never once in his damn life called me brother is now telling me to run? Gao Zhentian whips around, his voice low and dangerous. Guard Commander, what about Pyongyang City? But the guy just hangs his head, dodging the question, not daring to answer. That just makes him even more furious. He roars, Guard Commander. Suddenly, the dude drops to his knees on the deck, begging, "My lord, please, just kill me." Gao Zhentian is just frozen, staring at the guard commander, not knowing what to do. The man's whole body is trembling as he sobs without a sound. It's like his whole world is crumbling right in front of him. Gao Zhentian just grips the paper, totally numb, unable to say a damn thing. He stares blankly back at the mainland, watching the black smoke rise. The entire capital is sinking into a sea of fire. 900 years of Goguryeo, ending just like that. Gao Zhentian grits his teeth in anguish, hating himself. In the end, I still couldn't protect it. Right then, the ship gets rocked by huge waves. Everyone is thrown off balance, unable to stand up straight. A massive wave slams into the side of the boat, and Gao Zhentian almost loses his footing. The baby in the wet nurse's arms seems to sense the bad vibes and starts whimpering. Then it just starts wailing, freaking everyone out. He just stares at the kid, frozen. The ocean is getting even more violent. Gao Zhentian's fleet tries to power through, but then a freak storm just rolls in out of nowhere. It's pouring rain, and lightning is crashing down all around them. The sea gets even crazier, like it wants to swallow the ship whole. The soldiers are rowing for their lives. Dudes are screaming and cursing. Grab the ropes. Get a grip. You got a death wish? I told you to tie yourselves down. And you, Goguryeo sons of bitches, stop crawling around like that. But the ship just keeps getting tossed around in the middle of the ocean. Why the hell aren't you rowing, you bastard? The insane storm is making them rock like they're about to flip over. The guard commander runs up, totally panicked. General, what's going on? He's clinging to the rail, trying to talk some sense into him. We have to turn the ship around. The guard commander tries to convince him, his face dead serious. I've spent my whole life on the sea, but I have never seen waves like this before. And they didn't expect to see a freaking giant wall of water blocking their path. A giant wall. If we keep going like this, we're all gonna die. Gao Zhentian doesn't answer. He just stands there silently, watching what's ahead. The guy's shaking as he begs him, General, please, turn the ship around, quickly. But Gao Zhentian looks over at the baby, who stopped crying a while ago, and is now smiling happily. Right then, his brow furrows, his expression turns dead serious, and he replies, it's not like we can go back now. Anyway. Just then, a bolt of lightning rips across the sky, lighting everything up. Gao Zhentian has to squint to see a little better. Through the wave. Forward. He slowly draws his sword from its sheath. This is the will of Emperor Li. The others listen intently right behind him. And this is the battle of the great Goguryeo navy. Gao Zhentian raises his sword high and screams the command, charge through, and the ship just goes for it, plowing straight into the wall of water in front of them. But what they didn't see coming were the countless waterspouts surrounding them. The soldiers don't leave their posts, trying to hang on to the helm for dear life. As the entire ship gets closer to the giant wall, a light suddenly flashes from the bottom of it. It just gets brighter and brighter, like it's about to swallow them whole. After who knows how long, Gao Zhentian slowly opens his eyes. He's drenched in sweat, muttering something. Son of heaven, your highness. Gao Zhentian slammed his sword down and slowly stood up. He quickly glanced to the side. The kid was still next to him, grinning like an idiot. Gao Zhentian caught him, completely surprised. The guard captain ran to the ship's rail, stunned. What the hell is this? He looked forward, confused. Isn't the mainland still super far away? Wei Jifulu, standing beside him, casually spoke up. Guess the storm's over, huh? That Goguryeo, S.O.B., suddenly shut his mouth. Only the sound of the crashing waves kept the dazed guard captain from totally disbelieving his eyes. What do you mean, what? If you see land, you're supposed to get the ship over there. Duh. Is there something wrong with your head? Did you take an arrow to the brain? As he spoke, he pointed forward. What's that? Wei Jifulu quickly yelled. Hey, nice view. He even looked around, all hyped up. Yo. You Goguryeo S.O.B. This land is freaking huge, huh? You can spin in a circle, and it's land everywhere. But then he suddenly froze and muttered. Wooloo. The scenery's a bit off. It's not the ocean like before. Why is the sea so narrow? Gao Zhentian came closer, wondering, is it a lake? Meanwhile, Wei Jifulu was twisting the guard captain's neck, chewing him out. Captain, are you insane? You Goguryeo S.O.B. We've been sailing around in a damn lake for days? I'll probably have to chop off your head to get you to wise up, you son of a BTCH. Seeing this, Yanhui Jialin quickly stepped in. Calm down, big brother. Can't you see what this son of a BTCH has done? He then turned to Gao Zhentian to ask, Grand Ambassador, what do we do? He calmly surveyed the area before answering. This is definitely a lake. We started from the sea, no matter how you look at it. This means we're a long way from where we began, so this place is safe now. Yanhui Jialin watched him intently with a worried look. So he immediately gave an order to the guard captain, Captain, order the fleet to make landfall. With that, he escaped Wei Jifulu's grasp and stood up high, shouting, all troops, to the shore. Right after, all the other ships followed his lead and headed for land. But Gao Zhentian frowned, full of doubt. Where the hell are we? Somewhere near the shore, the Goguryeo army set up a temporary camp. Gao Zhentian then quickly issued an order. Fulu and Wu Lu, take some men and scout the surrounding area. The two of them quickly acknowledged, "Yes, sir." The soldiers were busy setting up the camp. Huai, set up defensive formations around here to guard against any possible attacks. Yan Huijialin bowed and accepted the order. Understood. He continued his instructions. Guard captain, do a head count of our current forces. Dade Wudiok immediately obeyed. Just like that, the camp was quickly set up, but he remained silent, not saying a word. Everyone was following his orders. He then glanced back and felt a bit of relief. The Son of Heaven, His Highness, was being soothed and cared for. Gao Zhentian entered the tent to check on him. Seeing him, they quickly bowed, "Your Highness." But Gao Zhentian replied coldly, "I am not His Highness. Understand?" They stammered nervously. "Then, we shall take our leave." He then asked, "What is it?" The woman bowed her head and said hesitantly, "It seems something isn't right." He was surprised to hear that. What? Seeing this, they cowered in fear, trembling and shrinking back. Gao Zhentian quickly strode forward. He walked over to them and just growled, "Just go." The three of them stared at Gao Zhentian, stunned. He just glared, watching from behind them. The Son of Heaven, His Highness, was wailing his head off. Gao Zhentian scowled at the child, unable to stand it, his brow furrowed in anger. He yelled out an order, "Get the guard captain in here." Meanwhile, the two Weiji brothers were walking into the forest, searching around. Weiji Fulu spoke up, "It's hard enough, finding a wild boar." Wu Lu replied, fed up, "Forget a boar, I haven't even seen a single ant." Hearing that, he got angry and snapped, "You little brat, you dare talk to your big brother like that?" Wu Lu complained resentfully, "Suddenly, you're picking on me. Is there really that much of a difference between brothers?" That just made Fulu tease him smugly. "We may have come from the same mother, but I was the one who came out first." Suddenly, a sound echoed out. "See? I heard that." They quickly got into formation. "Everyone, focus up." The soldiers immediately held their formation as the sound continued without stopping. Wu Lu turned in confusion and asked, "What is that sound?" Fulu grinned excitedly. "Pork is on the menu tonight." Instantly, they raised their weapons and waited for them to approach. Then, an ORC appeared. They immediately raised their weapons, ready to attack, but Wu Lu was a little confused. "Bro, look." Seeing the ORCs walking menacingly toward them, he couldn't help but be amazed. "The pigs in this region walk on two legs." Huh. Fulu was also confused and asked, "On top of that, why are those pigs so green?" So he turned back, annoyed, and snapped, "How should I know just by looking? They're probably all bruised up." Wei Ji Fulu made a disgusted face, but the two of them still tried to reassure themselves. Who cares if they walk on two legs or are green? As long as the pork is good, it's fine. Yeah. The ORCs saw them whispering and looked at each other, confused. And just like that, the two brothers grinned excitedly, practically drooling. The group of ORCs started to feel panicked. Suddenly, Fulu and Wulu leaped up and charged forward with their weapons. The group of ORCs stood stunned, frozen like statues. Loud screams echoed out. Back at the camp, a wet nurse was being threatened with a sword to her neck. Gao Zhentian glared furiously. At the same time, Dade Wudok rushed in, panicked. "Grand Ambassador." Seeing the scene, he jumped in shock. He turned back and said, "Guard captain, the child has been swapped." They trembled, not daring to speak, but no one there could explain what happened. He too fell into a thoughtful silence. Finally, Dade Wudyok knelt down. He took something out from inside his armor. Dade Wudyok held a secret decree in front of him, and he glared, questioning him. "What is this?" he continued. "When we reached the settlement, there was another letter from His Majesty, Emperor Lai. He ordered that you be called Your Highness." Gao Zhentian questioned him in surprise. "There were two letters? I'm very sorry, but yes." He immediately took it, and without hesitation, opened it and read, "That child is not the Son of Heaven. She is the daughter of the guard vice captain, Yu Wei Ji Wuluan. You stayed in that place to protect me. I thought that child's life was too short to be left in a place that would be burned to the ground. So I sent her to you, deceiving you. I am truly sorry. But there was no other way. Otherwise, you would have sacrificed your own life to save the country. That much is as clear as day. You were born into the line of Emperor Lai, but you have spent your entire life on the battlefield. I did not want to do something so cruel to you. Don't blame yourself for not being able to save the country." The soldiers held on, stubbornly protecting His Majesty. The attacking rebels were immediately shot down. The one who becomes emperor, through a coup, like myself, is the one who should bear that karma. But they still couldn't stop the rebel soldiers then. I have only lived my life as a puppet of power. The enemy general strode confidently up to the throne. "Please, Grand Ambassador, do not live as I have. Act according to your own will." A sword was raised before His Majesty, but he looked at it calmly, without a trace of fear. Gao Zhentian clutched the secret letter, totally blanking out. "Oh, right. I hope the kid grows up to be your soulmate. Dade Wudiok just stared after him, all sad-like. Your Majesty, Emperor Lie. He just froze, totally messed up. You're giving me freedom? For real? Gao Zhentian turned to look at the kid. The baby stopped crying and actually smiled. He reached out and gently poked the little red squish. Then its tiny little hand grabbed onto Gao Zhentian's, making him jump. The kid let out this cute little laugh. Gao Zhentian whipped around. Change its diaper. The wet nurse was kinda surprised too, like, huh? Oh, right. He turned to Dade Wudiok. So, what's up with the kid's mom? Heard she's staying behind to defend the city with her husband, Yu Luan. Dude looked super bummed out. Hearing that, he just bounced without another word. Gao Zhentian stepped out of the camp, all pensive. So, what the hell am I supposed to do now? He thought back. I first picked up a sword when I was like 5 or 6. Hit the battlefield at 16. When they ditched their homes and ran, I was out there fighting on the front lines. All 'cause I'm some illegitimate royal kid of Emperor Li. I had to protect the empire. But now, that reason to even exist is gone. He stared off into space, thinking, so what am I supposed to be fighting for now? Later that night in the camp, Fulu came to report. I've searched all the forests around here. No sign of any enemies. Wulu, standing next to him, chimed in. Yeah, the vibe in these woods is way different from Tang or Silla. Some of the trees look seriously weird. He then added, weirdest part? These green pigs that walk on 2 legs. Suddenly, some soldier comes tearing in, all panicked. General! Dade Wudok got pissed. We're in the middle of a meeting. What's so important? Did enemies show up or something? The dude stammered, I think the sky is pissed. Dade Wudiok was like, what? The sky is pissed? They all rushed outside, and the soldier pointed up. Up there. They all just stared, completely baffled. No one had a clue what was going on. The sky was filled with these weird, little planets just chilling around the moon. Like, is the moon having babies or something? Yanhui Jialin looked up, curious. This astrological stuff is so weird. It's like we're in a totally different world. Gao Zhentian, next to him, was just like, so, that explains it. And with that, he turned and walked off. At least we don't have to worry about the Tang army chasing us anymore. Yanhui Jialin started to say, yeah, but Gao Zhentian was already inside the tent. Come on. Morning broke outside the camp, and some terrifying beast was screaming its head off. Turns out, it was being held down by the 2 Fulu brothers. When Gao Zhentian stepped out of his tent, he glanced over at them. Right then, Fulu's arm slipped off the beast. That was all it needed. It took off running for its life. The 2 brothers turned to watch it go, one of them yelling, where do you think you're going? But before the monster got far, they were already right on its tail. They both jumped on it at the same time, slamming it to the ground. Gotcha, you green pig. Don't even think about moving. Gao Zhentian just stood there, watching the whole ridiculous chase. He frowned, annoyed. Do all the pigs around here walk on 2 legs? He couldn't help but think that as he watched Wulu and Weiwei Wulu Fulu pin the monster down. Or is it just some dude in a pig mask? They forced it down and kept threatening it with their weapons. Hey, talk to us. Come on, humans. Let's have a chat. Then Weiwei Wulu Fulu piped up. Aren't these things supposed to be oinking or something? Hearing that, Weiwei Wulu shot back, totally annoyed. What are you even talking about? Since when do pigs talk? Fair point. Whatever, just hurry it up. As he said that, he started aggressively tickling the goblin. You wouldn't believe it, but the thing started laughing so hard it was shaking and begging. I'm begging you, humans. Just kill me with a sword and get it over with. Immediately, Weiwei Wulu Fulu went cold, and decked the goblin right in the gut. So damn noisy. Yanhui Jialin had woken up and walked over to him. Gao Zhentian frowned. What the hell is he doing? Probably some kind of ritual. Watching them torture the goblin, he was totally lost. A ritual? But what's the point of making it laugh? What the hell for? I guess a laughing sacrifice is better. But all he could do was sigh. Totally defeated. Weiwei Wulu. What are you doing? Tickle it right. Damn it. You're supposed to chop it when it's laughing. Look, now it's crying. All of a sudden, Gao Zhentian spoke up. Weiwei Wulu Fulu. Wulu, stop. Weiwei Wulu Fulu looked surprised. Why? Great emissary, we can do the ritual and then eat it. The ritual can wait. Besides, if the pigs turned green, it's probably sick anyway. Just then, another soldier came running in, yelling, General, we have a huge problem. But Fulu just looked at him calmly. What is it this time? More dogs or cows walking on 2 legs? The soldier totally jumped. How did you know? And with that, all 4 generals were just completely dumbfounded. Right after that, a bull-headed monster smashed through the fence and charged in. It let out this insane roar. Our guys scrambled into a defensive formation. Everyone grabbed their weapons, but one dude just stood there, couldn't believe his eyes. What the hell is that thing? Seeing the monster charging at them with an axe, he was like, why is a cow walking on 2 legs? Fast as lightning, it swung its axe right at them. Block it. It slammed its axe straight into the soldiers' shields. Just one swing sent a few guys flying. Seeing things were going south, everyone scrambled to fight back. The commander yelled, "Throw!" Instantly, hundreds of axes flew from the soldiers, aiming right for the beast and sinking deep into its flesh. Bright red blood dripped onto the ground. The monster's eyes went bloodshot with rage, and it raised its axe, totally losing it. But then, a hook flew out of nowhere. It latched right onto the monster's horns, yanking it sideways and making it miss the soldiers. Fulu held the rope tight. Damn it, these things are huge. What the hell kind of place is this? Wei Wei Ji Wulu Wulu used all his strength to pull the beast back, screaming in frustration. What are you guys doing? Can't you move? Shoot arrows at the damn bull. But get this, the thing just gritted its teeth and pulled with all its might, actually dragging both of them forward. Seeing that, he glared and growled. You want to have a strength contest with us? Really? Wulu frowned, tightening his grip. The two brothers pulled together with all their strength, yanking the beast flat on its back. He quickly ordered, "Fire." Bows were raised and aimed, and a storm of arrows rained down, sticking all over its body. The beast was covered in dark red blood. It stood there for a second, totally still, before collapsing to the ground. But Fulu jumped up from behind it, yelling, "You damn bull!" and straight up lopped its head clean off. Die! The giant head fell and rolled hard towards the soldiers. Finally, they'd taken it down. Fulu smirked, all smug. He turned to Wulu, all pumped, and asked, "Yo, Wulu, you think we can eat this thing?" But the guy just grumbled back. "The envoy will probably tell us not to," saying it's too scrawny. Suddenly, another roar echoed from behind them. Then, 3 more massive beasts, just as huge as the first one, showed up, with a bunch of others trailing behind. Great, now these dogs are running wild too? They saw the head of their buddy lying on the ground, completely chopped off, and totally lost it, charging forward like psychos. Before anyone could get ready, Fu Lu eagerly rushed in. "Wu Lu, let's split 'em. So, who gets the last one?" Hearing Wu Lu say that, he was just stunned. Huh? That beast swung its axe right down at him, but Fu Lu actually managed to block the blow with his bare hands. Wu Lu also dodged a slash from the other one. The beasts in the back took the chance to charge and attack the soldiers. One of them was about to sneak attack Wei Zi Fu Lu when, out of nowhere, a familiar figure zipped past. In a flash, a sword sliced through its body. Blood instantly sprayed from its arm. It was Gao Zhentian. Just one slash was enough to sever the beast's arm. He then landed lightly, his face splattered with a bit of its blood. On the other side, Fu Lu was pummeling a beast with his bare fists. Seeing it stagger, he swung its own axe back at it. The razor-sharp axe blade swung down, splitting the creature's entire body in half with one clean strike. He was getting even more hyped. Meanwhile, Wu Lu was in the back, drawing his bow. He leaped and did a flip in midair to dodge an attack. Seizing the moment, he took aim, and 2 arrows slammed right into the beast's body. Just like that, it collapsed to the ground, motionless. Wu Lu landed without a scratch. In the blink of an eye, the 3 beasts were dealt with. Gao Zhentian turned and said, "My body feels lighter." You know why? Ka Lin happily answered, "It's because the gravity here is weaker." He even explained that their armor, weapons, and bodies would all feel lighter than usual. Gao Zhentian lifted his blood-stained sword and looked at it. "So that's it." His eyebrows furrowed. No wonder. As he spoke, he flicked his sword to shake the blood off. Suddenly, the monster from before shot back up right behind Gao Zhentian. It slammed its fist down so hard it cracked the earth. The beast stared, eyes wide, at the dust cloud where the ground had shattered. But when it lifted its hand, there was nothing there. But then, a slash appeared on its back that it hadn't even noticed. Fresh blood sprayed out as its body was sliced apart. Gao Zhentian coolly sheathed his sword. If it were now, those damn Tang army bastards wouldn't have stood a chance. What a shame. The soldiers were also fighting off the wolf-like beasts. They had already taken down 2 of them, and the others freaked out and started to run. Seeing this, our troops didn't bother to chase them down. He turned to Fu Lu and ordered him to hunt down and wipe them out, then to expand the search perimeter to see what else was out there. Yes, sir. Deep inside the forest, someone was running for their life. It was 2 foreigners, running frantically for some reason. The man stopped and yelled in panic, "Sarah, get back to the village." The girl sobbed, "Uncle Veron." He urged her on, "Hurry." The 2 of them froze, staring ahead. A earth-shattering roar ripped through the air. A giant monster was heading their way. It let out a threatening growl, and Veron immediately fired an arrow to slow it down. "Come and get it, you stupid monster." but the monster's hide was way too thick to pierce. He gritted his teeth in fear. Damn it! Varan, trembling, turned back and stammered, "Sarah, you have to run." The girl was stunned, but then burst into tears and quickly turned to flee. But then Sarah tripped on a rock and went sprawling. The monster immediately noticed and changed direction, heading straight for her. Varan's heart skipped a beat. He kept shooting arrows at it to get its attention. "You damn monster! Come on, eat me instead." The monster's hand snatched at Sarah. "No!" Just then, a figure appeared, swiftly leaping over its head. Fu Lu had made it just in time to catch her. Sarah covered her face in fear, seeing nothing. She slowly opened her eyes. "What the hell is that? Isn't that thing even bigger than a cow?" Sarah's heart jumped as she stared at him, too stunned to speak. Weiji Fu Lu finally spoke. "That was too close." Sarah was still shocked. "Huh? Is he a dwarf?" Hearing Sarah say that, Fu Lu was taken aback. "A dwarf? What are you talking about?" Before they could even talk, she looked up in terror. Sarah frantically pointed behind him at the monster. It gathered all its strength and slammed its fist down on them. The massive explosion sent a powerful gust of wind everywhere, but she was still standing, completely unharmed. Sarah stared blankly at Fu Lu. In her eyes, all she could see was his wide, excited grin. He then set her down and turned around. He shot towards the monster like a bullet. Fu Lu leaped high into the air and slashed down. "I'm gonna slice you to bits!" Both Varan and the girl stared in absolute shock. Blood rained down from the monster's body. He gasped in amazement. He took down a yeti in a single blow? Just like always, Fu Lu easily sliced it in half with one move. The monster's corpse crashed to the ground. Only then did he notice the other two. Fu Lu suddenly ran a hand through his hair, smiling, trying to look cool. "Hey gorgeous, not bad, huh?" The two of them were so stunned, they just froze. But then, Varan and Sarah quickly dropped to their knees and begged, "Please, spare our lives. We'll be so grateful." Hearing their language, Fu Lu looked confused and asked, "How do you know my name?" Later, at the Goguryeo army camp, all the soldiers were curiously crowded around a tent, peeking at the two foreigners. Varan kept trying to calm her down. "Sarah, don't worry. I'll get us out of here, no matter what." Sarah was sweating with anxiety. "You can't, uncle." Her whole body was shaking uncontrollably. "I'm badly hurt. I can't move. At least you should run back and tell them what happened." Hearing that, he cried out in alarm, "What are you talking about? How could I ever leave you behind? Don't talk nonsense." Right then, Fu Lu walked in. He frowned and said, "I can't understand a word you're saying." But Varan just whispered, "It's okay. They say if you get bitten by an ORC and stay conscious, you'll survive, right?" The soldiers couldn't help but start gossiping. "Whoa, her hair is golden blonde. How can her skin be so white? Are all the locals this beautiful? Well, I heard people from the West are like that. Maybe this is the West." Sarah didn't understand, and worriedly turned to him. "Are we going to be punished by the soldiers?" "I'm not sure. No kingdom around here has an army with black hair and black eyes like this." Seeing the two of them whispering back and forth without understanding anything, Fu Lu started to get annoyed. He stared intently at Sarah, then turned his head and ordered his men, "What are you looking at? Get lost." They immediately scrambled away. Just then, Gao Zhentian also walked over and said, "They must be locals." Fu Lu replied, "Gu. He continued to ask, "Do you understand what we're saying?" The two of them stayed quiet, anxiously watching. "Those two masters called my name, but I don't understand anything else they're saying." Gao Zhentian shot him a look, then turned to face the outside. His soldiers were hauling gear, and he eyed the captured goblins. "We have no clue where the hell we are. And then there are the bodies of those freaks from earlier. We gotta know what else is out here besides friggin' two-legged pigs and cows." Gao Zhentian thought to himself, "Any screw-up could get every single one of us killed. I have to get info out of them." He lowered his head, trying to figure it out. "To do that, I need to understand their language." They just stared back at him, totally clueless. Finally, Gao Zhentian tried to calm everyone down. "We'll figure something out." Kalin stroked his chin, wondering how. All of a sudden, Fu Lu yelled out, laughing his ass off, "I got it." Someone was walking up from outside. It was a soldier from the Goguryeo army. "I'm the master's second in command." Everyone looked at him, whispering in awe, while this one dude was like, "He's a genius, knows every language. Let him do the talking." Chi Yongtam came forward and knelt before them. "Sir, I am Chi Yongtam." His gaze was dead serious as he looked up at Chi Yongtam, the man who supposedly knew every language under the sun. Gao Zhentian was floored. "Seriously?" "Yeah," everyone muttered, super impressed. He used to trade with people from the West with his parents and picked up all kinds of weird languages. So he immediately gave the order, "Go on, try talking." "Yes, sir." Chi Yongtam pressed his lips together, thinking, "This is my shot. My chance to prove I'm not totally useless." From the great Hillen Tomb Daoa nation, there's nowhere I haven't set foot. He stood in front of Sarah. There isn't a single language I don't know. Chi Yongtam's face lit up with this huge, creepy smile that made Sarah jump. He then asked, "Bonjour?" But he got nothing back. After a solid minute of silence, Chi Yongtam stammered, guess that wasn't it." He tried again. "All right then. Hello?" Still nothing from Sarah. Gao Zhentian shot him a death glare as he just stood there, flustered and stuttering. Try that cheek-kissing thing. But of course, Chi Yongtam got way too close to her. "Bonjour, madame." Fulu exploded. What the hell is he doing? Losing his patience, he shot a glare that scared the crap out of Chi Yongtam, who then just started spitting out a whole stream of gibberish. He didn't even get to finish before a fist smashed into his head. It was Wu Lu who stepped in. Gao Zhentian sighed. Totally over it. "I forgot. Outside of a fight, you're pretty damn useless." Wei Weiji Wulu Fulu was pissed off too. What? Was this whole thing a scam? "Wulu, don't tell me in front of everyone that you didn't know about this. How embarrassing." That was it. Wulu lost it and grabbed the guy by the head. Chi Yongtam started begging, "General Wulu, please, just give me one more chance. Today I'm gonna train you myself. You should be grateful, you little liar." He was full on sobbing now. "Ni hao. Blonde lady, please just answer me." And just like that, they dragged him outside while he was still screaming. What an idiot. That fraud Ki Yongtam. Everyone glared as he was hauled away. Finally, Ka Lin spoke up. "Let me try." He stood in front of Sarah, all gentle-like. Ka Lin pointed to himself and said, "Yan Hui Ka Lin." It looked like she was starting to get it. He slowly said each syllable, "Yan, Hui, Ka, Lin," which made Sarah's face light up. "Your name is Yan Hui Ka Lin?" Ka Lin then asked. "So, miss, what's your name?" She totally understood the question and answered right away. "Sarah." The soldiers erupted in cheers. Suddenly, a loud laugh boomed next to them. It was Wei Weiji Wulu Fulu, pounding his chest all proud. "Hell yeah. Just like that, we already know our client's name. I said her name, now she's gotta say mine, right? My name is Wei Weiji Wulu Fulu," but Sarah just looked confused. "Thank you. You're thanking me? See? You get it." Gao Zhentian glanced over and asked, "She's just saying random crap, isn't she? Just let him have this." Then he stood up and signaled to everyone. "All right, let's take a break." With that, all the soldiers cleared out, leaving the two of them in the tent, looking totally lost. That evening at the camp, the soldiers were having dinner. Inside, the two foreigners were eating in dead silence. He slowly lifted the food to his lips. Baron Alban, of the Haiyan Kingdom. Knight Yukleon Tiluman, of the Haiyan Kingdom. Suddenly, a soldier ran up to report. "Baron, the mercenaries are about to take over the farming village." Baron Alban wiped his mouth and cursed. "Those damn insects. Did they all run away from the kingdom?" The old man gritted his teeth. "I'll make them pay." Back at the Goguryeo army camp, Gao Zhentian was eating in his tent. "They're leaving tomorrow?" Ka Lin stood beside him and answered, "Yes, sir." He added, "The weird thing is, she does whatever those two say, no questions asked, so I decided to let them all go together on this trip." Hearing that, Gao Zhentian said calmly, "Purity and simplicity always go hand in hand," which totally threw Ka Lin for a loop. Just then, a voice called out, "I'm here." It was Fulu, with Sarah in tow. "Come in." She flashed this brilliant, pure smile, while he looked like he'd just won the lottery. Simple, huh? Ka Lin could only force a smile. Then he immediately gave an order. "Go to the village. Let them know we help them and tell them we come in peace." Fulu let out a huge laugh and puffed out his chest. "You got it, sir. Leave it to me." But Gao Zhentian just scowled, looking annoyed. He lowered his head and announced, "No, the guard captain is going with you. You two will cooperate." The guy was completely stunned. Fulu stammered, "What? Why the sudden change? Don't you trust me, sir?" To his surprise, Gao Zhentian just replied flatly, "No." He then ordered, "You just focus on taking care of that girl. You need to make a good impression." Gao Zhentian's face was dead serious as he commanded, "We need to gather intel on that place with someone named Veron, so I'm sending the guard captain with you." Fulu's eyes went wide. Damn, what a deep strategy. He immediately got cocky and laughed. "And here I thought you didn't trust me. I get it now." He just had to frown and deal with it. Gao Zhentian sighed and thought, "Right. Besides fighting, I literally can't trust you with anything." The group was now trekking through the forest. Soldiers and cavalrymen followed for protection, with Wu Lu leading the goblins at the front. He remembered what Gao Zhentian had told him. "The captain's got a mountain of work back at camp, so you two just go and come back in one piece this time." The two brothers took the order excitedly. "Don't even worry about it." And with that, they took off, all cheerful, leaving only him and a worried Ka Lin behind. The goblins were tied together, dragging a cart. They just took it in silence as they walked. while Wu Lu sat on the supply wagon. Wei Wei Ji Wulu Fu Lu waited on his horse for Sarah, and the entire escort moved out, following them back to her village. A little while later, a soldier yelled out, pointing into the distance. "There's the village!" A flickering light, not too far away, was Sarah's village. Everyone stopped. Wei Wei Ji Wulu Wu leaned back and yelled, "Hey, you liar!" which made Chi Yong Tom flinch. He stammered awkwardly, "I'm not lying. I've really been studying for the past 10 days. But Wu Lu was still pissed. "Isn't my hardcore training every day a big enough reward for you?" Chi Yong Tom could only shut his mouth and take it. He glared, threateningly. "Enough. Just ask them if that's the right village." "Yes, sir." Then he turned to Varan and started talking. They chatted for a sec. Then the old guy pointed ahead and said the villagers might freak out. So he told me and her to go on ahead and explain things first. Hearing that, Ki Yong Tom happily replied, "Oh, thanks, Fu Lu." And bam, he immediately got an axe chucked straight at his head. Wei Wei Ji Wulu Fu Lu went ballistic, screaming, "How dare you say my name like that?" He beat the guy until he passed out, but then, Ki Yong Tom suddenly shot back up to explain. It was obviously a thank you. But the old man wasn't having it and smacked him again. "This punk is using that trashy language again." Ki Yong Tom cried out in pain. Wu Lu immediately stepped in. "Stop it, you're scaring the kid." And he added, "She doesn't even look surprised." Fu Lu turned back to check, then just burst out laughing. Sarah smiled back, but she was totally thinking, "So, saying thank you gets you beaten up here? Got it." Sarah even made a mental note. "Gotta warn the villagers about this when we get there." A little while later, the village gate was right in front of them. The horses had arrived, and Varan helped her down. But seeing how dead silent it was, he was confused. "Where is everyone?" Sarah suddenly noticed something and pointed ahead. Over there, in an empty clearing, the entire village was silent. Not a single sound. Varan and Sarah walked inside to investigate. But then he suddenly froze, quickly clamped a hand over her mouth, and pulled her aside to hide. Varan signaled for her to be quiet. Up ahead, the villagers were being rounded up. "What the hell is this?" The village chief was on his knees, begging. "Captain, didn't you promise to stop the orcs in exchange for food and money?" He bowed his head down. The captain just smirked and replied, "You don't get it at all, Weiji Wuluef. Are you senile 'cause you're old, or just stupid 'cause you're a pioneer?" His men grabbed all the villagers, holding swords to their throats. "Why should we risk our necks fighting orcs?" He pulled out a dagger and threatened the elder. "Rounding you all up is way easier money." The soldiers behind him looked on with sick excitement. Then the captain yelled out an order. "Horse, don't damage the women and don't cripple the men." At his command, they showed zero mercy, smashing their weapons straight into people's heads. "Kill all the worthless ones for me." The village erupted into chaos, filled with horrifying screams and cries. "Please, spare us, Dad!" Everyone panicked and tried to run. A woman clutched her terrified child. "Please, at least spare my baby." A soldier narrowed his eyes at her. He gave her a suggestive smirk, then let out a threat. "That depends on how you behave." And with that, he started dragging her across the ground. The village chief could only watch in stunned horror as his people were tortured. He couldn't take it anymore and screamed, "You bastards, stop!" Instantly, the captain slammed his boot onto the old man's head. He laughed, amused. "Hey Weiji Wuluef, being a slave is way better than being orc food. Am I right?" The elder looked up helplessly at the captain. Seeing the brutal scene before him, he could only shut his eyes tight and accept his fate. The elder thought to himself, "My people fled the kingdom's tyranny to become pioneers, but we made a huge mistake trusting people so easily." He prayed, "Varan, Sarah, you two must never come here." Meanwhile, Varan and Sarah were hiding on the side, witnessing everything. He grit his teeth, trying to endure it, but then Varan slowly let go of her. He urged her, "You need to go, quickly. Go report what's happening." Sarah looked up, worried. "What about you?" Varan's face was grim. "I'll buy time until they get here." But she hesitated. And then suddenly, Sarah's eyes widened in shock as she looked ahead. A soldier had found them. He sneered, a disgusting grin on his face. Well, look at the little mice we have here." The next thing they knew, they were both captured and thrown to the ground. Varan's face was already beaten and bloody. The village chief trembled, his heart aching when he saw them. "No." The soldier who found them immediately reported, "Captain, sir, I found her hiding behind the barracks." Hearing this, the captain smirked and ordered, "Take care of her." The soldier instantly grabbed Sarah and started messing with her. "Come here." Varan struggled to grab him. "Stop it." But before he could do anything, the guy kicked him away. "Get off." Just as he started dragging her across the ground, the earth suddenly began to tremble violently. Sarah froze, completely stunned. Out of nowhere, the soldier took an entire axe to the face and collapsed. He was taken down right next to her. The captain was freaking out, having no idea what just happened. What was that? Thankfully, Fu Lu had arrived just in time, charging in on his horse. Seeing him, the soldiers were stunned. A dwarf riding a horse? They all stared in amazement, shouting, "Look, a short-legged dwarf on a horse. Where the hell did he come from? That axe is huge." The horse slowed to a stop, and Fu Lu calmly dismounted. He walked over to Sarah and asked, "You all right, pretty lady?" She immediately nodded. He continued, "It's dangerous here. Get the Baron and leave, now." The bad guys just stared at each other, totally confused. Suddenly, Fu Lu roared, "Everyone, brace yourselves." They were stunned when they heard that. A thundering sound echoed from outside, and seconds later, a whole army of soldiers came charging in on horseback. Fu Lu bellowed his orders. "Beat that old geezer to a pulp and treat him like a wild animal. If any of them have weapons, show no mercy, kill them all." Without a moment's hesitation, the soldiers charged at the enemy. Their spears thrust forward, pinning one guy to the ground in a single strike. Just like that, the tables had turned. The enemy panicked and screamed, "It's a dwarf! They're a death squad! What the hell is going on?" The guy from before glanced over and muttered, "They're here." Instantly, Fu Lu swung his axe and sent the guy's head flying. "What was that you said, you little punk?" The soldiers easily wiped out all the bad guys. "Kill them." The others were terrified and had no choice but to jump on their horses and flee. "Captain, did the kingdom send their knights? There's no way that army could have gotten here." A panicked soldier ran up to report, "Captain, this fight is impossible. I've never seen knights like these." The captain watched in utter shock. He'd never even heard of a knightly order like this in the kingdom, or on the entire continent for that matter. Who the hell are they? Right after he said that, the soldier was sent flying by a thrown axe. "Captain, make a decision, quick." An arrow shot out and hit the soldier right in the back. The captain stammered, "A crossbow?" Then, one after another, his men were taken down in a flash by a volley of arrows. Where are they coming from? His head was spinning. He had no clue what to do. "What?" A soldier ran up, pointing, "Captain, over there." The captain narrowed his eyes and saw another squad of cavalry charging toward them. No way. Leading the group was Wu Lu, holding a bow and arrow. Mounted archers? And an arrow flew from all the way over there to here? Not even a crossbow can do that. Damn it. If we want to live, we have to get out of here first. He finally yelled out his orders. "Retreat to the back gate. Leave the slaves." His men immediately scrambled onto their horses and took off. Fu Lu quickly realized they were trying to escape. Model the captain was running for his life. He jumped on his horse and gave chase. "Where are you going?" The guy glanced back and realized Fu Lu was hot on his heels. "Just one enemy. Take down that leader. Kill him." Hearing that, the captain blew a fuse. "Shorty? What shorty? You dare call me a goddamn shorty? The one word I hate most?" That just made him spur his horse on even harder. "You bastard, shut your damn mouth," the captain pointed, signaling his men to kill him. A few guys turned back to face Fu Lu. He swung the axe in his hand, and with one blow, sent them all flying. Then, Fu Lu stood up on his horse's back, braced himself, and leaped. The other guy's jaw dropped. "Hey, another dwarf is coming." The words barely left his mouth before Fu Lu lopped his head off. The captain watched, horrified, while Fu Lu just got more pumped up, looking at him with amusement. The captain's fear grew. He trembled and screamed, "Do whatever it takes to stop that dwarf." The other goons listened and turned back. Fu Lu stepped on their corpses and remarked, "This is ridiculous. Gotta admit, they run pretty fast." Those scum spurred their horses back toward him. Fu Lu smirked and said, "Take care of the runts up ahead." Instantly, the soldiers charged forward, and in a flash, the enemies were dealt with cleanly. One man approached him and asked, "What about the ones who are running away?" Fu Lu calmly replied, "Don't waste time on them," but he grinned with excitement. "Wu Lu is over there." The remaining guys scrambled, trying to escape the village. "Hurry," he mumbled. "I have to report to Baron Albin right away." But then his face went pale as he realized a shower of arrows was flying toward him. The captain toppled to the ground. He struggled to crawl back up, clutching his wound and gritting his teeth through the pain. Turns out, Wu Lu was already there, waiting to ambush them. He raised his bow to aim. Wu Lu squinted, focusing ahead. Even in the dark, he could make out the fleeing captain. Wu Lu drew his bowstring taut. The captain gritted his teeth in fear. "Over there," the captain thought to himself. "That's not a dwarf. That's a monster." A second later, the arrow was released. Without even checking, Wu Lu turned to leave. Time to go back. In the darkness, where the captain was, an arrow had pierced straight through his head. Back in the village, countless people had been slaughtered. Heart-wrenching sobs filled the air. A woman held her child in one arm and her dead husband's body in the other. Wu Lu couldn't help but feel pity watching the scene. The cruelest creatures in the world really are humans. The village chief and the others hurriedly knelt and gave their thanks. "Don't take us. Please spare us. Please save us." Varan quickly stepped in to explain. "Everyone, Calm down. These people are here to help us. The villagers were stunned, unable to believe it. Baron? Is that true? Aren't they soldiers from the punitive force? There's no way they could have made it all the way here. We're saved. We're saved. Fulu turned to Chi Tom and urged, "Get the interpreter. I want a precise translation of the messenger's words. Now." "Yes, sir." But Wu Lu seemed to notice something in the distance. He said cautiously, "Fulu, we'll talk later." Fulu walked over and added, "Hey, you see that over there?" He squinted and replied, "I don't see anything." In the distance, countless gruesome red eyes appeared. Fulu yelled in alarm. "Those monsters are goblins, charging in for an attack. Green pigs." A soldier spurred his horse, racing back as fast as he possibly could. He had to deliver the news in time, remembering Weiji Fulu's order to inform the Great Lion about this. So, the soldier pushed his horse to its limit, breaking out of the forest as the horse neighed loudly. Meanwhile, where did this whole mob of savage ORCS come from? Fulu yelled angrily. Chi Tom the Deceiver. Hearing his name, Chi Tom appeared instantly. "At your service." He frowned and commanded the troops, "Gather all the men with bows and arrows." "Yes, sir." The ORCS were closing in on the village. Fulu stood still, observing the situation. The people and soldiers wasted no time, grabbing their bows to prepare for battle. The villagers clutched their bows tightly. Seeing this, Wu Lu scoffed in annoyance. "What's this? Those are just wooden bows. Can you guys even shoot with those?" Then he turned to Chi Tom and instructed, Chi Tom, the Deceiver, when I give the signal, you signal the blondies. Got it?" "Yes, sir." "How many arrows do you have?" The soldiers immediately answered. "I have 5 arrows left." 7 arrows. 6. Wu Lu frowned and said, "That's enough. Put them all in your quivers." The guttural roars of the ORCS grew closer as they charged forward relentlessly. The soldiers stood ready, bows drawn, awaiting the command. The village chief, standing behind them, worried. "No way, not from this distance. Are they planning to kill ORCS with those tiny bows?" Varan also glanced over, concerned. "I know they're skilled, but can they really fight off that many ORCS?" The ORC horde was right outside the village. Wu Lu stood at the front and shouted, "If you can't take down at least 2 of them with one shot, we're all dead meat." With that, he gave the order to fire. The soldiers let loose a continuous volley of arrows. Immediately, an ORC fell. An arrow pierced through its head. Others were taken down at the same time. The villagers were stunned, in disbelief. "I couldn't even see the arrows fly, but the ORCS are really falling. That's not a bow, that's a magic item." Weiji Fulu quickly spurred his horse forward with his soldiers. "Cavalry, with me." Just then, the messenger soldier finally made it back to the camp. He rushed toward the gate, panting, and then ran breathlessly inside. The soldier standing outside the tent called out, "General, General." Gao Zhentian immediately came out. The soldier hurriedly reported, "A herd of hundreds of green pigs, no. A horde of ORCS is attacking the village, sir." Hearing this, his eyes widened in shock. Back at the village, the ORCS charged in to attack, but they were quickly cut down. Fulu single-handedly felled countless ORCS, and his soldiers wasted no time in wiping them out. Following the order to strike fast and clean, the ORCS were hit by arrow after arrow. Wu Lu laughed mockingly from the side. "That's right. Goddamn pigs are still just goddamn pigs." Weiji Fulu laughed and added, "And aren't we the experts at pig hunting?" Seeing things were not going their way, the other ORCS tried to flee, but he was fired up and gave chase. "This is our pig hunt. Drive them into the forest." The ORCS were getting totally wrecked and ran back into the woods, but unexpectedly, an ORC's head was sent flying back toward them. It rolled to a stop at Fulu's feet. He suddenly noticed something up ahead. A guttural growl came from the darkness, and a figure emerged. It was a much larger ORC leader, holding the corpse of the ORC from before. Fulu looked at it, a little surprised. "What the hell is this?" The ORC leader let out a loud roar and gave a command. "Kuich Nigon Sadarun Timel Simarus. If any of you run from these humans, I'll rip you to shreds." The terrified orcs didn't dare to flee. Mukaber, the orc chieftain, raised his weapon high and roared fiercely. "Nawa and Winanas, with me here, we orcs are gonna win. Joran Mai, warriors, let's show these punks the guts of our orc tribe." Weiji Wuluef Mukaber, a hero and a strategist, was the first orc to ever use military tactics. At his words, the orcs instantly got their courage back, cheering, "Long live Weiji Wuluef Mukaber." Mukaber then roared out a command, "Buletima Aaron Gute," split into 4 groups and attacked the village. Just like that, the orc horde thundered back, running right through Weiji Fulu's troops. He was stunned, muttering to himself, "An orc commander who knows tactics?" Without hesitating, Weiji Fulu spurred his horse and gave chase. "Everyone, get back to the village." By now, the orcs had swarmed into the village. They smashed through the fences and charged in. One of them leaped forward, pouncing on a villager. The man could only shove the stick in his hand forward, impaling it. Even though it went right through him, and blood was pouring out, the orc was still alive, and even let out a savage laugh. It swung its axe and chopped off the villager's arm. He screamed in agony, "Damn it, my arm!" But luckily, an arrow flew in from a distance, and pierced right through its head. The villager clutched his arm, groaning. Wooloo ran over to him and yelled, "Hey, you bastard! Snap out of it!" But more orcs had already climbed the fence and were swarming in. Damn it. Without a second thought, Wooloo pulled the axe from his hip and threw it straight at its head. Other orcs had also broken through and were rushing in, but they all got rocks thrown in their faces. Wooloo shouted, "Losing an arm won't kill you. Grab your spear." The man struggled to pick up the spear next to him, and soldiers quickly arrived to back them up. He yelled orders, telling everyone to push them back. "If they break our line, we're all dead meat." But Wooloo froze for a second. He turned his head and saw, to his horror, that villagers were being attacked by a pack of orcs. Just then, the sound of hooves echoed as Weiji Fulu returned just in time. "Who gave you damn pigs permission to squeal?" He smashed the head of an orc that was charging a villager, but then Weiji Fulu yelled out in alarm, "Old Wu, this is getting out of control." On the other side, Wooloo was also struggling with another group. "I think we've killed 200 of them, but another 400 just showed up." The two of them furiously swung their axes, mowing down the monsters. "If this keeps up, can we even hold out until reinforcements arrive?" So this Wei Ji Wooloo Fulu dude starts yapping. "If it was just us, we could totally dip, but the orcs are getting close and messing with the villagers." And then Fulu gets this sick, twisted grin on his face. The guy gets all hyped up and screams, "Guess there's no choice, we gotta stand and fight." Wooloo is all for it too. "Yeah, totally. Bailing on these pigs is not something a real warrior would do." Meanwhile, the orc leader in the forest swung his axe and gave the order, "Goguryeo, advance and kill." After that, a massive wave of orc troops swarmed out like a broken beehive, while the two brothers, Weiji Wooloo, Weiji Fulu and Wooloo, didn't hesitate for a second, charging straight into battle. "All right, let's get this started." But just as the two sides were about to clash, a loud noise erupted. Everyone froze for a moment. Wooloo looked to the side and saw the figures of a group of people approaching. The two of them were ecstatic. It was the Great Lion, Gao Zhentian, who had arrived with reinforcements just in time. Weiji Wooloo Weiji Fulu let out a huge, triumphant laugh. The orcs, still confused about what was happening, got a face full of steel in the blink of an eye. With a single slash, Weiji Fulu sent several orcs flying. "Time to hunt more pigs." He got even more excited, clearly enjoying himself. "That's a big pig. My soldiers are also fighting them relentlessly." Gao Zhentian, the cavalry commander, quickly charged forward. He spurred his horse, speeding up to support the front line. An orc pointed at Gao Zhentian and said, "Kit, it's the human cavalry." The orc chief stood on high ground, watching the battle, looking thrilled and smug. "I am the revolutionary and strategist of the orc tribe. After all this time, I finally get a chance to face human cavalry." Mukaber swung his axe and declared loudly, "No matter how strong the cavalry is, they can't break through a wall of brave orc warriors. United we stand, divided we fall." The orcs charged forward, chanting, "Unite, unite, unite, unite." As they chanted, they ran towards each other and climbed on top of one another. "Unite, unite, unite, unite." Weiji Wooloo Weiji Fulu and Wooloo just stood there, watching them. By now, the orcs were climbing on top of each other, forming something like a wall. "Unite, unite, 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 unite." Weiji Fulu, confused, turned to Wooloo. "Why are they doing that? How should I know?" The orc chief eagerly pointed forward and ordered, "You will be crushed in two by our wall." Gao Zhentian arrived to see the bizarre sight of orcs stacked on top of each other, forming a high wall in front of him. "Great Lion, if we charge that, we'll all be thrown off." He frowned, muttering, "What a strange creature." And with that, Gao Zhentian spurred his horse hard. His soldiers held their spears and charged straight ahead without stopping. One after another, the soldiers followed, thundering forward. The orcs roared non-stop as he closed in on them. Gao Zhentian came face to face with an orc, and then just Gao Zhent went right through them easily. The army split into two columns and passed through the orcs. Up above, Mukaber was still boasting arrogantly, "Look, the human cavalry has fled before our courage." The orcs cheered again, as if they had won. "Long live the orcs! Long live the orcs!" At that moment, the villagers quickly raised their bows. Weiji Fulu pointed forward and gave a quick order, "Can't miss a target this easy." As he finished speaking, a rain of arrows flew out. "Fire faster." The orcs just stood there and took it, arrows sticking out all over their bodies. Their wall came crumbling down. Mukaber just calmly muttered, They're acting exactly as I predicted. He yelled again. Everyone, scatter. The orcs quickly broke apart and ran in every direction. Mukabear was still smiling, smug as ever. Gao Zhentian followed his gaze and gave his own order, full-speed pursuit. Gao Zhentian then wheeled his horse around. He ordered a charge on the scattered orcs, and they were wiped out easily. Mukabear watched in shock. What? The orcs started piling on top of each other again. Unite and build a wall, only to be shot down by our archers again. Unite, unite. Then they'd scatter in all directions. Fire. Gao Zhentian relentlessly charged in and attacked. The orcs once again repeated their leader's orders. Scatter, unite. As Mukabear was screaming his lungs out, he was suddenly impaled. He was stunned, totally in disbelief. And just like that, Mukabear plummeted from the cliff, completely taken out. Seeing this, the hero finally spoke with relief. Finally, some quiet. The orcs saw their leader was toast and totally lost it. The chief is dead. Gao Zhentian immediately gave a cold as ice order. Wipe out the rest of them. Charge. They were like headless chickens, totally wiped out by the army. The other freaks just panicked and bolted for the woods. The villagers saw this and went totally wild, cheering like crazy. They were all hyped up, screaming, hooray, hooray. The cheering went on for a while. Then Gao Zhentian strolled into the village like he owned the place. He slowly walked up to the elder and the rest of the villagers. Those people were all just staring, stunned and on edge. Both sides stared at each other for a sec. Then Gao Zhentian glanced over at his own guys. They'd taken a beating too. He turned back to them. The village chief, along with Varan and Sarah, looked totally freaked out. So Gao Zhentian calls for his interpreter. Wulu yelled, Yongqi Yongtam, you scammer, get over here. Yeah, you, hurry up and tell him, we're out of here. But suddenly, Fulu cuts in, look general, Kayan Hui Jialin, who was next to him, turned to look. The elder stammers, if you guys leave now, what's gonna happen to us? They're asking what'll happen to them if we leave. Gao Zhentian shot back, ice cold. Protect yourselves. It's your life. You protect it. The villagers freaked when they heard that. They just dropped to their knees and started begging, please, you have to protect us. Ki Yongqi Yongtam quickly translated for him. They're begging you to protect them, Great Lion. He just straight up asked, you want to be slaves? Ki Yongqi Yongtam turned and translated it back. Do you want to be slaves? Hearing that, the elder just froze. Varan's brow furrowed as she thought, slaves? So these guys are no different from the kingdom after all. Gao Zhentian declared loud and clear, we are people who live to protect our country, our families, and our citizens. He shot right back at them. My sword isn't for protecting people like you, people who just leave their lives in someone else's hands. But the village chief kept pleading, please, save us. This land is your nation. Gao Zhentian, getting pissed, shot back. Can't you even protect your own damn country? Instead of hiring mercs, you can't even afford to pay. You should have used that money to buy your own damn swords and armor. All those poor people killed by those bastards were lying everywhere. A country protected by borrowed strength will always fall. Hearing that, the villagers all went quiet, thinking it over. So, you want to be slaves? Or you want to pick up a sword and risk your lives to protect your families, huh? As he spoke, he pulled out his sword. Gao Zhentian raised his hand high and announced, if you choose to take up the sword, you will be my soldiers and my family. Kayan Hui Jialin, standing nearby, just glanced at Wulu and Weiweiji Wulu Fulu, not saying a word. He looked them over once, then Gao Zhentian just turned his horse to leave. We're going home. Just then, a little kid yelled out, I'll take up the sword. He stopped, dead in his tracks. The kid's mom rushed over to stop him. Euron, the kid, still challenged him boldly. So if I die, will you protect my family? Gao Zhentian glanced back, looking at the kid. He was suddenly reminded of that Goguryeo boy from before. General, I'll fight. He slowly got off his horse. The kid, a little scared, looked up at this huge figure standing in front of him. Your grip is all wrong. As he spoke, he adjusted the boy's hands. You have to hold it like this. Gao Zhentian even taught him gently. Once you pick up a sword, don't even think about dying. His voice dropped, getting real serious. Only by surviving can you protect your family. The boy, with tears in his eyes, sniffled, yes sir. Gao Zhentian watched the kid intently, and right after that, all the villagers got ready to grab their weapons. He frowned as he watched, then gave the order, everyone, back to camp. A murder of crows flew crazily across the sky out of nowhere, with a few landing on the fence, looking around cautiously. Turns out what drew them was a corpse lying on the road, someone who'd been shot down. The crows, attracted by the smell of blood, swarmed the body. A moment later, a figure approached. It was Hillen Tum, riding his horse. He glanced around, scowling, looking super pissed off. Then he led his troops into the village. By now, There were bodies everywhere. A soldier carefully reported, "Sir, we've searched everywhere, but there's no sign of the pioneer squatters." Hill and Tum rode forward. Count Alban asked, "Knight Ukleon Tiluman, what do you think?" The guy calmly replied, "Looks like the same group killed both the orcs and the mercenary squad." He scowled and continued, "The pioneer squatters killed the orcs and then bounced?" "Really?" Hill and Tum was carefully examining an arrow in his hand. "This is a type of arrow I've never seen before. It seems like some unknown power has gotten involved." Count Alban's expression turned nasty. "Anyone who dares to covet my property." Then he sharply turned his horse and rode off. The soldiers stood in a neat line. Count Alban shouted, "After we round up enough of these squatters to offer to the kingdom." With that, he led his army away, but not without declaring, "I will destroy them." Meanwhile, back at the Goguryeo army's camp, an announcement rang out. "The Great Lion has returned. Open the gates." Gao Zhentian's army returned in style, with the villagers trailing cautiously behind him. The soldiers in the camp were totally surprised, pointing and whispering. One guy muttered, "Damn, they look so sickly." Then they started looking at each other, joking around. "Maybe that's why they have those dark circles under their eyes." Another soldier chimed in, "But they're still delicate and pretty, huh?" Suddenly, Fu Yu appeared, grinning like a demon. "Are you scumbags drooling?" He threw a few punches in the air as he grilled them. "You've been slacking off in training just 'cause I wasn't here, haven't you?" They immediately backed off. "No, sir," he just cackled. "Just you wait for today's training session. Hehehe." Then Wu De walks up to him and asks, "What's the deal with the refugees behind you?" Gao Zhentian calmly took off his helmet and replied, "They're citizens of Goguryeo now." The man was shocked to hear that. "Are you seriously planning to establish a throne here?" He slowly explained. "What are you talking about? Taking them in as citizens means?" Gao Zhentian scowled, annoyed. "Right now, I need soldiers for defense, and the women and children are for morale. Giving them a reason to feel like they have someone to protect. That's the only reason I'm taking them in." Wu De hesitated, then spoke again. "You mean?" But he just turned away, annoyed, and held up a hand to cut him off. Just then, a voice called out, "Great Lion!" Yan Hui Jialin slowly walked over. "Since you've accepted them as your people, please declare yourself king," just as the commander of the royal guard said. He quietly said, "Hui." He gave a small, excited laugh. "We don't even know where this is, or if it's even our world." Then Yan Hui Jialin looked over at the crowd of people and shared his thoughts. "Giving the soldiers and the people a goal to live for will make their lives more meaningful." With that, he started pushing Gao Zhentian. "You have to decide, sir." He just gave Yan Hui Jialin an annoyed look and didn't say a word. But Yan Hui Jialin just put on this fake, gentle smile, then coldly turned his back and went back inside the tent. "You be king. I ain't cut out for it." Wu De Wudiok freaked out, crying, "Great Lion, what the hell are you saying?" Gao Zhentian deliberately poked the bear. Fine. Let YZ Fululo or YZ Wululo do it then." The guy immediately shot him a death glare. He snapped angrily, "No, you know damn well this isn't a joke." He just stood there, silent, not even looking. Gao Zhentian's voice dropped. "Yan Hui Jialin, commander of the royal guard." He looked down at the helmet and spoke. "All my life has been about fighting. I suck at all this political crap." Gao Zhentian ordered in a stern voice, "Commander De Wudiok, you handle things here." He looked all flustered like he wanted to say something, but the other guy just clenched his fist and growled, "I'll do what I can." "So, Commander De Wudok, you just stick to what you can handle." Gao Zhentian continued, laying it all out for them. "I'm not telling you to be king. Did you forget that useless kings totally wreck their countries?" He spread his hand open and stared at it, all confused. "All I know is how to fight and protect Goguryeo." Wu De Wudok called out, "Totally lost, Great Lion." Suddenly, a soldier yelled out, "The giant tribe." Gao Zhentian whipped around to look and answered, "What the hell is going on?" Everyone gathered in one spot, where three dwarves were kneeling in front of Weiji Fuludu and Weiji Wuluao. "Yo, look, someone speaks our language. Are they related to us or something?" They checked them out carefully. "Look, those green-skinned people aren't natives." Gollingstone slowly opened his mouth, his old face still totally stunned. The old man remembered what happened before, when they were desperately running through the forest, the three of them just trying to escape with their lives. "What do we do now?" Gollingstone, the dwarf. The old guy gritted his teeth, blaming himself. "This is my fault. We came all the way to Mount Raganja, just to get chased by ORCS. All because I got greedy looking for ore." Just as the three of them turned around, a group of soldiers appeared out of nowhere, fighting off monsters. They recognized them right away, yellow skin, black hair, black eyes. Then it hit them. "Wait. Are they human?" The three of them dropped to their knees in front of the soldiers, so grateful. But they were super confused, thinking, they're a little different from the humans we're used to. The soldiers were all pretty confused too, especially by their builds, which were like General Wei Zi Fulu Lows and Wei Zi Wulu Lows. The scene changes to a simple house, where Lao Duong is staring ahead, deep in thought. Lao Duong, Goryeo's blacksmith. He squinted. From what I can tell, they seem to be the blacksmiths of this world. The three dwarves were working their butts off, but it was weird seeing them here. Gallingstone lifted up an item, totally geeking out. Dude, look at this perfect balance. This iron is totally pure, no crap in it. Another one was staring at the black armor. How the hell could a human forge a weapon like this? A familiar voice rang out. The Great Lion was at the gate. The three of them peeked out the window. Curious. The red-haired dwarf jumped. The two new guys. It's the brothers. Weiji Fulu Du and Weiji Wulu Ao. Back to the present. The two of them stood there with their arms crossed, looking serious. They were tall, with pinkish skin and black hair. The old man spoke slowly. Are the legends true? Then all these weapons here were made by... They all slammed their foreheads to the ground. The giant tribe. Everyone was just like, what the hell are they doing? Then the three dwarves hugged each other and started spinning around. Weiji Fuludu, completely lost, just said, seriously? What is going on? Gao Zhentian. Gao Zhentian. Gao Zhentian. Could only sigh. Time skips to that night. The sky was full of stars, and he was standing there all alone. Dian Yan Hui Jialin Ka Yan Hui Jialin's words echoed in his head. We don't even know where the hell we are. You have to be the one to decide. Gao Zhentian, Gao Zhentian. Gao Zhentian's eyes lowered slightly. Another figure was reflected in the water. Just do whatever you want. He was lost in thought. Even though I'm a descendant of the royal family. But because I was born on the wrong side of the sheets, I've spent half my life on the battlefield. The wind blew his bangs gently across his face as old memories came flooding back. The Goguryeo I fought to protect is nothing but ash, and I came all this way, never looking back, just to keep the main bloodline going. A child was born, and that kid wasn't even a son. It was a girl. On top of that, she's not even a royal descendant, just some kid, born in the palace. At that moment, Gao Zhentian was totally stuck between a rock and a hard place. I have to make a choice for the soldiers who believe in me. He had planned everything out. If this is where I'm meant to be, I'll build up my forces and take on the Tang army. If not, I'll continue Goryeo's history. He looked up at the moon and made a promise to himself. That will be my mission and my purpose for everyone who follows me. Gao Zhentian. Gao Zhentian. Gao Zhentian's eyes began to shine, and the corner of his mouth curved into a slight smirk. He asked himself a question. Was all of this already set in stone? With that thought, he turned and headed back. Time jumps to daytime. Everyone went to the same spot, all wearing different clothes. Dian Yan Hui Jialin Ka Yan. Hui Jialin took stock of the situation. At first, the Wei Ji Wulu Dan Kai Hoang people were kinda scared of the soldiers, but now they've warmed up to each other. Gao Zhentian. Gao Zhentian. Gao Zhentian spotted two people hiding behind the drying laundry. They were a couple. He thought to himself, it's only been 1 month, and we've already sorted out the food and fire situation. Their group kept walking and observing. Talk about lucky. Gao Zhentian, Gao Zhentian, Gao Zhentian noted carefully. And the dwarves? They're pretty damn good at forging and crafting, so fixing up the houses has been going super well. He continued his report. They were also blown away by Lao Duong's smithing skills. The three dwarves knelt before them. Greetings, giant tribe. Wei Ji Fulu Du and Wei Ji Wulu Ao grinned. It's also thanks to Wei Ji Wulu Lo and Wei Ji Fulu Lo's hard work, right? The group kept on walking. However, the problem is preparing meat and wine for the festival, and we don't have any decent clothes. Plus we're running low on bows and arrows. Gao Zhentian. Gao Zhentian. Gao Zhentian flicked the fan in his hand. So, what's the plan? Dian Yan Hui Jialin, Ka Yan Hui Jialin, replied politely. According to the Baron, we can sneak into the city to sell monster hides and bones for cash. Once we have money, we can deal with the clothes and food problem. Vu De Wu Diok bowed respectfully. Great Lion, I request to go on this mission. He spoke up. The Royal Guard has enough on their plate here. I'd like to take on this task. Gao Zhentian, Gao Zhentian, Gao Zhentian just looked at the two of them in silence. The scene changes to a fortified city, where a group of 4 people are standing together on horseback. Dian Yan Hui Jialin Ka. Yan Hui Jialin was curious. Why are you going in person, sir? He was all smiles. Are you curious about the city too? He didn't answer. He just started moving. Let's go. They followed the road. The cart was loaded with barrels, and some shady figure was hiding behind a tree, secretly watching them. The horse-drawn cart reached the city gates and slowly rolled up to the guards. One of them frowned, looked them over, and barked, "Halt!" Then the guard looked a bit surprised. They all quickly got off their horses. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. He walked up to the guy, gave him a weak smile, and just like that, shoved a bag of money into the guard's hand. Seeing the cash, the guard turned his head and gave a signal. The other guard just waved them forward. Get in, hurry up. The group rushed through the city gate. The guard glanced over too, then suddenly yelled, "Halt!" The dude walked over to his horse, checking it out, and used his spear to flip off Gao Zhentian's hood. The guard gave him a hard look. Now that his face was exposed, the guy yelled out, "Black hair and brown skin." But luckily, Varan was already holding out another bag of cash. He bowed down, basically begging. Seeing Varan trying to play nice, the guard just tapped the tip of his spear on Gao Zhentian's head. The jerk snatched the money bag and took off. They were finally safe to pass. Then he asked Varan, "What was that guy's name?" Varan turned and answered, "His name's Hillen Tum." Hearing that, Gao Zhentian scowled, pissed off. Hillen Tum, I'll remember that name. Yanhui Jialin, walking next to him, just laughed and teased him. But right then, he felt something, and whipped his head around. Yanhui Jialin checked out a street corner, but didn't see anything, so he just moved on. Turns out, some shadowy figure was totally stalking them from a distance. He muttered to himself, "That's gotta be goblin skin." It was some dude in a cloak, hiding in an alley, which means there has to be goblin blood. A little later, at a nearby shop, they were laying out some items. "Varan, how the hell did you kill a goblin?" the shopkeeper asked, totally shocked. It takes 2 soldiers to even take one of those things down. But Varan just cut him off. "I'll tell you later, man. Just tally this stuff up first." As he spoke, Varan held up a flask. "By the way, you need any goblin blood?" But surprise, surprise, some shadowy creep was eavesdropping right outside the door. Only a sorcerer would buy that stuff. And what sorcerer would be in a backwater place like this? The old guy froze. Goblin blood. He immediately threw the door open and stormed in, yelling, "I'll buy it." They were just staring, confused. A sorcerer? The old dude happily plopped down by the crate of items. "Ooh, excellent condition." Then the old dude starts caressing this bottle, thinking to himself, "Sweet, with this thing, I'm finally out of this godforsaken second level." The shopkeeper, looking surprised, asks, "So, wizard, what's the verdict?" The geezer lovingly hugs the bottle and is like, "It's awesome. I'll take 3 bottles for 1 gold and 50 silver. But the shop owner immediately shoots back. "What? It's 1 gold and 50 silver per bottle. Sorry, pal, but that price is a no-go." Seeing this, the old man started digging through his pockets. "Wait!" He held out a few coins. 1 gold, 90 silver. Both the shopkeeper and Varan were just speechless. The old guy sighed sadly. "This is literally all I have. Is it still not enough? I'm begging you." But the shopkeeper didn't give a damn and just pointed a finger, scolding him. "You scammer. You look like a damn beggar. Don't try to trick me into giving you the good stuff." The old man roared in anger. "How dare you?" Then he furiously declared, "I am Riso, the once-in-a-century genius sorcerer." The shopkeeper just sneered at him. "Even third-circle sorcerers get showered with gold by the nobles. You think I'm gonna believe you're broke?" he scoffed. "Besides, if you're such a genius, why are you stuck at the second circle?" That shut Riso up. He just silently lowered his head, and you could see him start mumbling something. "Oh, light born from the desire of fire. Whoa." The old dude started using magic, yelling as the shopkeeper just stared in shock. Riso raised his arm, creating a blinding light. "It's true, I haven't reached enlightenment and am still stuck in the second circle." He didn't even get to finish before a cup smashed right into his face. Just like that, Riso keeled over. And as he lay passed out on the floor, you could see it was Gao Zhentian who threw it. Beggars can be sorcerers around here? Nah, more like sorcerers become beggars. The dude had a perfect cup-shaped mark on his face. Yanhui Jialin looked down and was like, "The magic system here is pretty messed up. I'm a once-in-a-century genius sorcerer. It takes other people 2 years to master mana. It only took me half a year. Becoming a great sorcerer was supposed to be a sure thing, but when I got stuck at the second circle, my master abandoned me. I became an outcast everywhere I went. But I always believed there had to be a way forward. I spent my whole life studying, gathering knowledge that could rival even the greatest sorcerers, but I could never, ever break through the second circle." Now, the old guy was tied up in a carriage, muttering nonstop, "Master, please, don't abandon me. I just need the goblin blood, and I can reach the second circle." He turned and asked, "We have to head back early because of this old guy?" Gao Zhentian revealed, "They say that mages know. Sorcerers in this land are super rare and wise." Hearing that, Yanhui Jialin immediately started teasing him. "So, you just decided to kidnap him? Scared someone else would snatch him up first?" He quickly made an excuse. "Nonsense. I just picked him up. Finders keepers, right?" Yanhui Jialin, curious, asked again, "But what are you gonna do with him? He's supposed to be rare and valuable." Meanwhile, Riso was still so out of it he was sobbing in his sleep. Then, he suddenly woke up. Gao Zhentian glanced back and said, "You're awake." Seeing Riso's surprised look, he asked, "But why are you crying?" Of course, Yan Huijialin had to keep poking the bear. "Isn't crying kinda natural after you get kidnapped?" "I'm just saying. That's what kidnappers always say. Talk about a double standard. When I do it, it's for the greater good. But when someone else does it, it's a crime. You know?" The old guy was still totally stunned, with no clue what was happening. Who are these people? What are they gonna do to me? Riso thought, gritting his teeth. But they obviously don't know that some crappy rope can't hold a sorcerer, and just like that, he quickly started using his magic. "Oh, power of mana that forges the world, share your strength with me." The other two caught on quick. Without hesitating, Riso threw his hands forward, unleashing a magical attack. Lightning energy might just be a second circle spell, but you can't underestimate it. A bolt of lightning shot straight for Gao Zhentian, but unbelievably he blocked it with his bare hand. The old man's magic was neutralized in a flash. The two of them breathed a sigh of relief. "Interesting," Yan Huijialin praised. But Riso was completely floored. "How did he block my spell?" Riso screamed in terror as the ring on his finger began to glow. He demanded, "Who are you people?" "Gao Zhentian." Zhentian looked a little surprised. "Not bad. You can speak our language?" Riso was still stunned. "How did you block lightning energy without a shield?" But he just glared back. "How do you know our language?" The old man had no choice but to give a vague explanation. "It's the power of an item. Stay out of my business." That just made Gao Zhentian a little curious. The power of an item. Huh. I screwed up and let that liar in the city get away earlier, which had me worried. But lucky for me, we can still talk. Riso kept pushing. "How did you nullify the lightning energy? What kind of magic formula did you use?" Yan Huijialin finally spoke up. "Looks like you're a mage yourself, huh? So you should know it's pretty weird to just go around asking for other people's secrets, right?" Hearing that, the old man stammered, "Well, that's..." But he was suddenly cut off. "Hold on." Yan Huijialin scowls, seeing a whole crew blocking their path. He just smirks, like, "Challenge accepted. Gotta deal with these uninvited guests first." They totally remembered passing the city gate this morning. Giving up a steady paycheck for a moment of greed? So freaking stupid. The guard had definitely been eyeing them. His eyes were tracking them, but with all the stuff piled on the carriage, the guard got greedy. Plus, it looked expensive as hell. So, they cooked up a plan to jump them. Perfect timing. With these two all alone, take them out, and they could keep their jobs and score all this loot. The ringleader just laughed. "Unlucky bastards." At that exact moment, Yan Huijialin just says one word, "Veron." Instantly, their whole crew goes up in flames. The guy just stands there, stunned, staring at them. Gao Zhentian glares at him with this knowing smirk. "We meet again." Tum freaks out and orders his guys to kill them. The whole mob charges at once. But he wasn't just gonna sit there. He started throwing these talismans at them. Tum was floored. Gao Zhentian took a few steps back, glanced up, and saw some dude rushing at him with a sword, screaming, "Die!" But Gao Zhentian was faster, drawing his own sword to counter. In the blink of an eye, he dashed forward and sliced off a lock of the guy's hair. Tum started to realize this was not going his way. He and the whole crew rushed forward to stop those bastards. But then he realized the other guys were just frozen, too scared to move. Tum had no choice but to push them. "Go on, why aren't you going?" Yan Huijialin holds up a talisman and mutters, "Extinguish." And just like before, their bodies burst into flames. The fire raged as he walked right up to Tum. The guy totally panicked and fell on his butt, scrambling backward. Gao Zhentian glared, his brow furrowed in anger. Tum was so scared he couldn't control himself, and totally wet his pants. He raises his sword, and the dude starts screaming his head off. Gao Zhentian casually swings, but, plot twist, he just smacks Tum hard on the head. Yan Huijialin, watching from behind, was totally confused. "Ambassador, you're really something else." Gao Zhentian just kept whacking the guy over and over to get his revenge, so he walked over and gave him a nudge. "Let's just end this beef and get going." Gao Zhentian finally stopped and pulled a talisman from his coat. "All right." Tum started sweating bullets. He growled out the word, "Extinguish." The guy suddenly froze solid, his mouth hanging open. But he didn't catch on fire. He just started shaking all over. Gao Zhentian looked at the talisman in his hand and sighed, "Damn, I still can't do it." Yan Huijialin walked over to comfort him. "If anyone could do it, it wouldn't be called magic, right?" He checked on Tum and was shocked the guy's heart had stopped. Meanwhile, Riso, in the back of the carriage, saw the whole thing. He cast a spell with a single activation word, no long-ass incantation. The old man jumped. Come to think of it, they were heading for the Laganza Mountains, where dragons live. He looked back at Yan Huijialin and thought, then that guy has to be a dragon. He clenched his fists, telling himself, if I can become a follower of a dragon, the source of all magic, I'll definitely pass the second round. He quickly tried to clear the air. First of all, I apologize for the, kidnapping, Ka Yanhui Jialin added gently, trying to negotiate. If you're not cool with it. But to their surprise, Riso totally freaked out. No, sir. You must have brought me here because you have need of me. The two of them were just stunned. Please, give me your command. I will do anything. They headed back toward the port. Riso was floored by what he saw. He couldn't believe his eyes when he laid eyes on Gao Zhentian's camp. He never expected to find a village this well organized in the middle of the Laganza Mountains, and his soldiers, their discipline and morale were seriously on par with the Empire's. Fu Yu and Weijie, Wuluo, were already there waiting. Welcome, Ambassador. And you, old man. Who are you? Before anyone could make introductions, the old guy screamed, Giants! The two of them just looked at each other, confused. Why does everyone keep calling us giants? Even dwarves, who were supposed to have vanished after the war between gods and demons 1,000 years ago, were here. He turned back to Riso and said, Sorcerer. No. Wizard. Gao Zhentian's voice was harsh as he interrogated him. You haven't forgotten your crime of trying to harm Borin, have you? Where are my men? The old man stammered in fear. That's because he insulted me. Gao Zhentian immediately ordered. Fu Yu, Weijie Wuluo, take him to the execution grounds. Yes, sir. They grabbed Riso and asked curiously, Where'd you pick this old guy up? Gao Zhentian. Zhentian just replied nonchalantly. Just found him on the road. A little later at the execution grounds, Gao Zhentian, now in different clothes, sat down for the interrogation. I said I picked up this old geezer, but calling it a kidnapping isn't exactly wrong either. His voice was ice cold as he pressed on. But I cannot forgive you for trying to harm Borin, who is my guide and one of my people. Riso stammered an explanation. That was because they insulted me. A wizard. Gao Zhentian cut him off instantly. I get it. The old man hesitated, then said, Thank you, but he wasn't finished. However, you also insulted me, old man, when you tried to harm my subordinate. Hearing this, Riso was horrified. No, how can you say such a thing? Gao Zhentian yelled, Cause the strong survive. Cause the strong live and good triumphs over evil. Don't you get it? It's not about good punishing evil. It's about the winner taking all. In the end, the strong take everything. Hearing that, the old man was stunned into silence. He even smirked at him. A weakling who carelessly insults someone is just asking to die faster. Kidnapping? Is that really the right word for it? Gao Zhentian narrowed his eyes, laying on the threat. Don't you realize it wouldn't be weird at all if I just beat you to death right now? Riso had no comeback. Besides, you seriously lack the skills to be respected as a wizard. You know? Am I wrong? The old man's hands were shaking. Riso bowed his head in despair. I'll give you one chance. But then Gao Zhentian spoke up again. You can keep living like this, wandering around like a beggar and getting humiliated. He stood up straight and looked the old man dead in the eye. Or, you can follow me. Riso was shocked, stammering. What do you mean? Gao Zhentian made his offer crystal clear. I don't just need some outstanding wizard. I need a sage who has deep knowledge of this world. With that, he stepped closer to the old man. With a dead serious face, Gao Zhentian asked, So, will you join me? Riso was just silent. So Gao Zhentian repeated himself. I'll ask one last time. The old man was sweating, totally flustered. I need you. Will you join my great cause? Finally, Riso stammered out a question. So what will you do for me? Gao Zhentian shot back instantly. I will not stand by while someone mistreats my family and my people. The old man froze when he heard that. If anyone dares to look down on you, Gao Zhentian declared with total confidence, I will crush them to pieces. And just like that, Riso dropped to the ground, completely overwhelmed. I will serve you as my master. That night, inside the tent, the old man was totally lost, unable to understand what Fu Yu and Weizhi Wuluo were talking about. Riso thought to himself, and here I thought he'd treat me like some common servant. He remembered what Gao Zhentian had ordered. Fu Yu, Weijie Wuluo, take care of him, will you? Model. From now on, he's gonna be the one teaching you guys. They complain, totally annoyed. We're this old, and we still have to learn something? Seriously? Great Ambassador, the master has given me the honor of teaching the legendary giant, he explains to them. Are we just gonna hide out here forever? We gotta figure this place out to decide what to do next, right? Gao Zhentian leans down close to Riso. First off, instead of relying on that item's power, you need to learn our language. When you're done, I'll give it back. The old dude looks at him, totally stunned. What? He took my magic translator ring. But Gao Zhentian just gives him a serious look and says, Do I look like I want your cheap crap? Riso just sits there, thinking to himself, he's gotta have his reasons, I guess. After a bit, Weiji Fulu and Weiji Wulu O just conk out and start sleeping. I mean, even if they're from a legendary clan, dwarves are still dwarves. Suddenly, Gao Zhentian walks up to greet the guy. Master, the old guy says, scrambling to his feet. The dude calmly looks at Riso, then takes the ring off his finger. And just like that, he hands it back to the old man, saying, "It's broken." And with that, he turns and leaves. The old dude rushes to put the translator ring back on. Riso panics, trying to explain. "Master, this isn't broken." But, surprise, Gao Zhentian's already bailed. He's gone. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Varan and Chi-Chi Yongtam are still riding back. All of a sudden, the guy jolts. Chi-Chi Yongtam grinds his teeth. Damn it. He jumps off his horse to check things out. Sir Varan, hold up. Chi-Chi Yongtam flops onto the ground, listening for something. Varan, totally confused, is like, "What's up?" But the look on his face is not good. Chi-Chi Yongtam rushes back and says, "Ditch the carriage." What? Then he turns around and flips up the cover. After grabbing some gear, Chi-Chi Yongtam turns back and says, "Hurry up, unless you want to die for no reason." This totally shocks Varan. A minute later, their carriage is just sitting in the middle of the road, and the two of them are hiding and watching from a distance. And what do you know? Some dudes show up. Crap, can't believe they actually ditched the carriage. They can't be far. Spread out and find them. Right away, they head deeper into the woods to search, forcing our two guys to hide even better. Are they seriously coming this way? But then Chi-Chi Yongtam just stands up, while Varan is shaking in his boots. What is that over there? Am I gonna die like this? But surprisingly, nothing happens. What just happened? He jerks his head up, startled. When he sees Chi-Chi Yongtam easily take them all out by himself, he can't believe his eyes. He took out those two all on his own. He grabs one of the soldiers and threatens him. "You better shut your mouth." Chi-Chi Yongtam shoves the guy against a tree and starts grilling him. "If you answer my questions honestly, you can go home to your hot wife and perfect kids. I swear on my life." Hearing that, the dude just freezes up, totally stunned. Chi-Chi Yongtam keeps going. "Why did you guys attack us?" After hearing the guy spill the beans, he thinks, "So, that's why the mercs were chasing those farmers. I gotta report this to the barracks, like, now." But the soldier is still stuttering. "Please, let me go. I have a girlfriend." Ta. Chi-Chi Yongtam gets pissed and yells, "You said you were single." The guy just casually explains, "Well, I have a girlfriend." Chi-Chi Yongtam thinks to himself, "Should I just off this guy?" But surprisingly, he doesn't do anything to the guy and lowers his sword. "All right, you answered my questions, so I'll let you go, like I promised." Chi-Chi Yongtam is even nice enough to give him directions. "But I'd be pretty bummed if you went back the way we came. So, close your eyes, walk in that direction, and count to 1,000 before you turn around." Yeah, you got it, sir." But Varan is worried. Is this really okay? If we let him go, another squad could come after us. Yet Chi-Chi Yongtam just casually replies, "Don't worry about it. This guy's super honest. He won't rat us out." "Of course, sirs, don't you worry." The guy even says it all eagerly. "All right, now run like your life depends on it." "Got it." Varan just stares after him, dumbfounded. The second the guy turns, there's a huge sound. He freaks out. What was that? And surprise, Chi-Chi Yongtam has this evil grin. "Gotta be more careful." Turns out the path he pointed to was just a cliff. Varan can't help himself and blurts out, "You lying bastard." But the loud noise meant the other guys realized something was up over here. They rush over. Bino's dead? Both sides immediately draw their swords. Chi-Chi Yongtam just smirks, all cocky and confident. Why does the universe insist on testing a good guy like me? The other guys look at them, a little surprised. There's only two of them? They're all cocky, saying they'll finish this quick and head back. Varan whispers nervously, "What's your plan?" The soldiers slowly close in on them. Back at the camp, Sarah runs inside, freaking out and yelling. "Weiji Fulu." He's surprised. "Sarah, it's late. What are you doing here?" She stammers, asking, "When is Varan getting back?" "Oh, Varan?" Weiji Fulu says, all casual. "Probably tomorrow." But Sarah still looks super worried. He sits up and asks, "Is something bugging you?" Sarah hesitates. "Well, the road here is pretty dangerous, and who knows what crap the punishment squad will pull this time." Weiji Fulu gets closer and says, "Are you worried because you saw that liar tagging along with him?" She looks down and replies, "To be honest, yeah, a little." Then the old guy just bursts out laughing. Looking at his track record, it's pretty hard to trust the guy. Meanwhile, back with Chi-Chi Yongtam, he lets out a bored sigh. Chi-Chi Yongtam reluctantly pulls out his sword. Nothing ever goes smoothly, does it? The soldiers charge forward aggressively. "Get him, boys. That guy might be full of crap, but he dodges like a pro." Wait a sec. But under Jiba's command, he's a total battle junkie. And Chi-Chi Yongtam is seriously kicking their asses. He purposely shoves Varan behind him and charges in, leaving the guy completely stunned. Chi Yongtam's speed is insane. With just one slash, he manages to hit all their necks. Blood sprays everywhere, like a rain shower. Among all the swordsmen of Goguryeo, he's the strongest. Chi Yongtam, the battle junkie. In just a second, he's done with all of them, leaving Varan completely frozen. Chi Yongtam casually pats him on the shoulder. Let's go. Varan finally snaps out of it, but then a terrifying scream rips through the air, shaking the whole forest. No way, a monster appeared. Why the hell is there a two-headed ogre here? It let out this terrifying roar, and Varan totally froze up, scared stiff. But he quickly got a grip, like, Weiji Wulul. Varan just casually thought, that's gotta be the king of land monsters or something. Then he turned to look for Chi Yongtam, but the dude had already booked it. Varan couldn't believe it. This was Chi Yongtam, the guy who could take down soldiers in a single freaking hit. Varan was so pissed he was speechless. Damn it. Meanwhile, back at the camp, Gao Zhentian lowered his voice and ordered, today's meeting is over. Suddenly, a voice from outside yelled, reporting something urgent. He glanced at the person next to him and shot back. Spit it out. A soldier rushed in, announcing, we saw smoke rising from the northern border tower. Gao Zhentian was kinda surprised. Smoke? The soldier lowered his head. Looks like something's gone down at the farming village we trade with. The soldier continued. It's less than half a day's ride. Hearing that, Gao Zhentian thought to himself, can't just ignore this. The others listened intently. All right, we're going to check it out. Gao Zhentian stated clearly, leaving behind a minimal defense force. After some prep, they immediately got the signal. The rest marched out, everyone on horseback. Riso came running over, all frantic. A surprise march? What the hell is going on? Riso ran towards him, panting. The order to march had just been given, but Gao Zhentian was already sitting tall on his horse. And behind him, the entire army was already assembled in the blink of an eye, leaving the old man in disbelief. I've been to every corner of the continent, but I've never seen an army this disciplined. A single unit with this much presence. They're on par with the Royal Knights. Gao Zhentian yelled out the command. Everyone ready? Fu Yu smirked playfully. Just waiting on your word. But he just instructed, Fu Yu, keep an eye on Riso. This surprised Fu Yu. My lord, you're going too? He then turned to Riso and said, Riso, they say you've seen the whole world. So, have you ever seen a battlefield? Riso bowed and replied, I have, my lord. Gao Zhentian glanced back with a hint of a challenge. Watch our fight today and report back on how this front and our way of fighting are different. Riso couldn't stop feeling the aura radiating from him. Simple words, but they held an irresistible power. He reeked of blood but was totally calm, his deep voice clear with every word. The old man immediately accepted the order. Yes, my lord. And with that, Gao Zhentian rode towards his army. He yelled, move out. Fu Yu roared in response. All troops, march. The camp gates slowly opened. The mighty army marched forward while in the distance, a village was being torn apart. We've rounded up all the useless ones, except for the men who can fight and the young women. A guy on a horse casually signaled, finish 'em all. He glanced back, ordering his archers to fire. They drew their bows and took aim. Just like that, a storm of arrows rained down. People hit by arrows panicked and fled as the whole village was engulfed in flames. The same guy spoke without a care. This village is too small. The one next to him added, the prisoners said there's a bigger settlement around here. Sounds like it's pretty big. The first guy glanced over. Oh really? He turned to the soldiers behind him with a smug look. Well, looks like this is gonna be a fun hunt. Then he directed his troops to move out. Meanwhile, in the forest where Varan and Chi Yongtam were trapped, the monster was still hunting them. The two of them managed to make a hasty escape. Chi Yongtam panted, what the hell did I do to deserve this crap? But at least we shook off that two-headed ogre. Guess we got lucky. But suddenly, Varan jumped, noticing something. A goblin was standing right next to them. He freaked out. Oh no, looks like we've stumbled into monster territory. For real? Varan urged. Then we gotta get out of here. Now. But Chi Yongtam just got pissed off and yelled, even these little punks are getting on my nerves. Hold up. And just like that, he kicked the goblin, sending it flying. Seeing Varan's stunned expression, Chi Yongtam asked, what? He stammered in reply, baby goblins are only raised in goblin villages, so I was gonna say we should just ignore it and leave. But in the darkness, glowing red eyes were watching. Varan stuttered as he saw the horde of goblins surrounding them. Looks like it's too late. You should have stopped me, dude. Back with the army, they came across rotting corpses scattered everywhere. Gao Zhentian immediately gave an order. We'll rest here for a bit and watch for an ambush. Yes, sir. Riso, who was beside him, spoke up. Based on the crest on this guy's head, they look like Baron Albin's private soldiers. He also glanced at the arrowhead. I see. In the distance, the burnt-out village was now just a ruin. I heard he came to this rarely visited area and captured the farmers. Do you know why? The old man began to explain grimly. Well, the reason he rarely comes here is because the monsters in this place are super aggressive and numerous. So sending an army would mean heavy losses. And since the city at the entrance to the Laganja Mountains is a commercial hub, they don't really need a lot of slaves. Gao Zhentian listened intently. But in this case, the old man bowed his head and reported, I believe it's to gather manpower for the war. The more the city's trade grows, the more the rich try to help their kids dodge military service. So it's common to buy serfs or slaves and send them to the battlefield as replacements, along with a hefty bribe. It's very likely they're planning to use these captured farmers as slave substitutes. Gao Zhentian cursed angrily. That's insane. Do they really think they can win like that? Riso revealed something even more shocking. The Haiyan Kingdom probably doesn't give a damn about winning or losing. He whipped his head around. What? This country is stuck between giant empires, sharing borders with two of them, and facing a maritime empire across the sea. So they're always under their thumb, forced to meet the demands of the stronger powers. When war breaks out, they've survived by providing troops to both sides. It makes no difference to them who wins or loses. Riso quietly explained that this was the reality of this country, the Haiyan Kingdom, a land with no one to protect it. Gao Zhentian frowned and sighed. They've given up on being a nation. Just then, a soldier rushed to report, General, we've found the enemy camp. There are about 20 cavalry and 600 infantry. We also saw around 250 people who look like they were kidnapped from here, locked up in wagons. Looks like they're resting before moving on to another village. Immediately, Gao Zhentian turned to his army. It's going to be a long night. Meanwhile, over at the enemy camp, the soldiers were brutally beating the slaves. Hey, why'd you try to run, huh? They laughed casually. Those guys are gonna fight in our place, so don't kill them. My turn. Next, they surrounded the captured women and started messing with them. The night's still young. Why not have some fun with us? They sneered. First one to step up gets meat and booze. One of them grabbed a woman from the front, while the guards outside complained. Damn it, they whispered to each other. We're stuck on guard duty instead of having fun with those chicks. I've been getting worked up this whole time. But then, they noticed something. A loud noise echoed from the distance. They muttered nervously. But the air feels weird, right? Kinda creepy. Right then, one of them was attacked before he could even react. Don't tell me you're scared of some wolves. What's there to be afraid of? The others were taken down in an instant, and the last guy panicked. What? But before he even got a good look, an arrow slammed right into his head. Right after that, our troops quickly moved in on the enemy camp. Seeing the guards had been completely wiped out, Yanhui Jialin immediately gave the order, send the signal. A carrier pigeon was released, flying up into the sky. Gao Zhentian stood on high ground, looking down. He growled the command, they've secured the escape route. Then Gao Zhentian turned and called out, Riso. Yes, sir. As he spoke, he drew his sword. From now on, watch very carefully. The entire army had their bows drawn, ready to go. Gao Zhentian declared in a low voice, this is our fight. The soldiers pulled back their bowstrings, ready. Wei Jifulu was hyped as hell. The entire army let their arrows fly. In Count Albin's camp, the soldiers were still just chilling, laughing, and joking around. That's when the blonde dude finally realized something was up. Huh? He looked up, confused. What is that? It was a rain of arrows heading straight for them. But the soldier was still clueless. It's not birds. It was only when the arrows got closer that he started screaming in panic. It's arrows! And just like that, the entire group of soldiers took the full volley from the Goguryeo army. They scrambled around in a total panic. By then, their cavalry finally realized what was happening and charged forward. Count Albin screamed, "What the hell is going on?" But the soldiers were just running around like headless chickens, nobody paying any attention to him. Just then, his personal guard ran up to calm him down. My, Count, please don't worry. Get inside, it's safer there. Count Albin scanned the camp one more time. Then he whipped around and calmly ordered, handle this, quickly. So his guard rushed off to rally the troops, getting the archers ready to fire back from the rear, while the spearmen set up an ambush at the entrance. The guy frowned and muttered, what kind of bastards are these? Luckily, in just a moment, they managed to regroup and form a defense. From the forest, a loud roar echoed. He squinted, trying to get a better look. In the distance, dark figures were thundering towards them. The guard stayed calm, guessing. Cavalry? They're not farmers. It was Gao Zhentian's army, charging forward fiercely with bows and arrows. He sat on his horse, bow drawn taut. Seeing this, the guard just smirked arrogantly. Looks like they're not a regular army. Don't they know your accuracy drops when you shoot from horseback? Right after that, he yelled out an order. All archers, draw your bows, the smug guard confidently declared. When they're in range, turn them into pincushions for me. The bows were pulled taut in a neat line, and instantly, Gao Zhentian's side let their arrows fly right at them. But the guy was still gloating, thinking, idiots. But an arrow shot from that distance was heading straight for the unsuspecting guard. He panicked and quickly leaned to dodge it. The guard turned to look at his soldiers, who were getting hit by arrows and collapsing. The guy was stunned, unable to believe it. No way. Gao Zhentian was still charging forward at full speed, and he loosed another arrow at the enemy. The guard scrambled to block the arrow with his sword, but the soldiers behind him couldn't dodge it. They couldn't just stand there anymore. The guard screamed in a panic. "Damn it, spearmen, block the cavalry now." Hearing the order, they immediately grabbed their spears and pointed them forward. But even so, Gao Zhentian stayed calm and adapted. Arrowhead formation, advance. His cavalry unit picked up even more speed. They were just a short distance from the enemy now. In the blink of an eye, the entire cavalry slammed right into them. Wherever Gao Zhentian went, soldiers were sent flying. The guards screamed in shock. "What are you guys doing? Attack the horses!" Instantly, other soldiers with spears closed in on him, yelling, "Die!" But the spearheads couldn't pierce through. The soldiers stammered in shock. "What?" The horses were completely covered in iron armor, making Gao Zhentian look like a giant right in front of them. He trembled and stammered, "A demon." As soon as he said it, the soldier was trampled under the horse's hooves. The soldiers screamed in fear and scattered. "Spare me!" Gao Zhentian kept giving orders. "Break through the encirclement." He looked back and yelled, "Wei Jifulu." The man was right behind him and replied, "Leave it to me." He gave a sharp nod. Then Gao Zhentian spurred his horse and turned back. "We're going to rescue the farmers." The cavalry unit cut through the soldiers while they were still dazed. One of them cheered happily. "The cavalry is retreating." But he didn't expect Wei Jifulu to cut him off. "What's with the happy face, you punk?" Then he quickly ordered his armed soldiers to attack. "Charge." The Count's soldiers panicked and scrambled to block them. The two sides crashed into each other hard. The Goguryeo soldiers charged forward with shields to block the enemy spears. Thanks to that, the Goguryeo army could easily counterattack, slashing down the enemy without missing a single blow. The two sides clashed in a brutal battle. The Count's soldiers got axes straight to the face. Who the hell are these guys? The camp became a total chaotic mess. Count Alban couldn't just sit still and watched anxiously. He was sweating buckets, scared out of his mind. Damn it. Looking at their armor, they're obviously not from the Imperial Army. So where the hell are they from? The guard rushed back, out of breath. "My Count," he kept urging him. "You have to get to the back, right now." Hearing that, Alban had no choice but to listen. "Those bastards aren't worth my time. Once I get back to my territory, I'll definitely return with the kingdom's army." Just then, another soldier ran up. The guard quickly asked, "Right, have our troops secured the escape route yet?" But the other soldier hesitated. "Well, about that." On the other side, the villagers who saw the soldiers getting totally wrecked were just stunned and confused. How did it turn out like this? The rest of them just booked it and ran away. The girl glanced worriedly to the side. Yan Hui Jialin slowly advanced with his sword, and the remaining soldiers were immediately cut off with no way to escape. He stood at the front and spoke up. "You've arrived, great envoy." Gao Zhentian replied, "Good work. Protect the wagons. Ghost cavalry, back with me. Charge." That one soldier looked down, thinking. He knelt, picked up a torch from the ground, and muttered, "Damn it. Dying like this is so unfair." Then he looked back at the villagers locked in the cages behind him, scheming. "You damn beggars." After that, the soldier ran crazily towards them, screaming, "Let's all die together." The villagers cried out in panic and fear, "Please, spare us." Yan Hui Jialin suddenly realized what was happening. Oh no, that soldier was manically raising the torch in his hand and screaming, "You're all going to die in the agony of burning flames." Dian Yan Hui Jialin Ka Yan Hui Jialin, watching from a distance, was like, "Yeah, I'm not having this." He threw his hand out at the dude and unleashed his magic, fire conversion, extinguish. Dian Yan Hui Jialin Ka Yan Hui Jialin's eyes flashed red, and the torch in the soldier's hand totally exploded into a massive fireball. What the? In a flash, the flames just swallowed him whole. The sicko soldier was torched, screaming in agony. By the time the fire died down, there was nothing left but a crispy, charred skeleton. Everyone was just stunned by what they just saw. The girl freaked out, yelling, "No way!" They all stared at him and screamed, "Sorcerer!" After some fighting, Baron Alban's camp was completely surrounded. No way out. Fu Yu was just chilling, watching them with this smug smirk. That's when this Xiaoem dude finally got a clue and realized their 600-man army got wrecked down to just 100 in a single freaking attack. But Count Alban was still running his mouth, totally not getting it. "You losers. Do you have any idea who I am? How dare you pull this crap? I'm a noble from the Haiyan Kingdom, you idiots." The soldiers couldn't care less. But Count Alban was still high on his own supply, thinking, yeah, that's right. They wouldn't dare mess with a noble. I'll just waltz in and take control of this whole mess. He even started pointing and screaming his demands. If you guys knew anything about the rules of war, you wouldn't be treating me like this. Where's your leader? And just like that, the soldiers parted ways. Gao Zhentian slowly rode his horse forward. Count Alban squinted, checking him out. Gao Zhentian just stared him down, ice cold. Alban immediately started grilling him. You the leader? I'm Baron Alban of the High-End Kingdom. But Gao Zhentian just gave him a death glare. Alban got pissed, trying to act tough. You dare ignore me? Then Gao Zhentian finally spoke. Liar. Weiji Wuluo whispered from behind. Sir, he's not back from the village yet. Gao Zhentian just glanced to the side. Riso, give me that thing. Yes, sir. The old guy quickly slipped a ring off his finger and handed it over. For the magic to work, you have to say the activation word. So Gao Zhentian raised his hand to do it. He even repeated the word activation. Riso, standing behind him, just stared, totally confused. Gao Zhentian growled, can you guys hear me or what? The old guy had to whisper a reminder. Sir, the activation word is a specific word. Riso slowly explained it to him. Please, just repeat after me. Interpret. Gao Zhentian said it again. Interpret. Count Alban was looking all confused. Like, what is going on? This Hill and Tum dude was in the back, guessing, my lord Count, looks like the tide of battle's turning. Should we try something? You got an idea? The guy immediately leaned in and whispered in Count Alban's ear. After hearing it, Alban got this nasty, sly grin on his face. Meanwhile, Riso was still trying to coach him on how to use the ring's power. You have to repeat it exactly, word for word. Gao Zhentian got serious and did it. Interpret. The ring finally lit up, and the old guy got all excited, clapping his hands. It worked. Gao Zhentian asked again. Can you hear me now? Count Alban casually replied, yeah. Hearing that, Gao Zhentian looked super pleased. Good. Very good. Right then, that Hill and Tum dude stepped forward all casual-like. I am the knight, Hill and Tum, of the House of Alban. So, our guy immediately shot back with his own intro. I am the Grand Envoy, Gao Zhentian, of the Great Goguryeo Empire. The guy frowned, mumbling, the Great Goguryeo Empire. Gao Zhentian nodded, repeating, that's right. Hill and Tum was quickly running through it in his head, like, there's no country called Goguryeo on this continent. Plus, throwing around the word empire so casually. What are these guys scheming? Seeing him lost in thought, Gao Zhentian pushed him. So, are we gonna do this or what? Hill and Tum just calmly answered, why bother? We both know who's won. Then he puffed out his chest, all confident, and was like, but I, the knight Hill and Tum, have a request. And just like that, Hill and Tum aggressively challenged him. I demand a one-on-one duel with you, Grand Envoy Gao Zhentian of the Great Goguryeo Empire. The dude got this smug look on his face. If I win, you guys have to back off. Deal? Gao Zhentian's eyes narrowed. A duel, huh? He agreed instantly. I accept a warrior's challenge. The guy shot back. Thank you, sir. Count Alban was smirking, totally pleased with himself. The duel was all part of Hill and Tum's plan. I mean, he's a famous knight in the kingdom, right? He glanced at Gao Zhentian, thinking, if I can take that guy hostage, I can totally flip this whole situation. A moment later, the duel was on. Hill and Tum was watching him like a hawk, then suddenly let out a huge yell, and his sword just burst into flames. Riso saw it and was completely shocked. A pseudo-aura. Why is someone with royal guard level skills out here? Then the knight just casually asked, you ready? But Gao Zhentian didn't even hesitate. Bring it, Riso yelled from the back, all worried. Sir, he's a pseudo-aura user. The old guy was freaking out. Dodge, now. Hill and Tum rushed forward. Too late. But our guy didn't even flinch, just stared him down. Unbelievably, Gao Zhentian just stood his ground, raised his sword, and sliced the dude's blade clean in half. The broken piece landed right next to Count Alban. That's when it finally dawned on Hill and Tum. The guy's hand wouldn't stop shaking. A sword. That can generate an aura without actually using one? How? Gao Zhentian looked down at him and sneered. Sloppy. Count Alban freaked out and ran over. Knight Hill and Tum. He grabbed Hill and Tum by the collar, shaking him. What the hell are you doing? But the dude was stiff as a board, not moving an inch. Count Alban was totally stunned, not realizing that Hill and Tum had been sliced clean in half a second ago. Just like that, his body split into two pieces, and a split second later, blood just rained down right in front of the Count. He was completely speechless. The gnarly scene made Count Alban just collapse onto the ground. The dude was drenched in sweat. Count Alban slowly looked up. Gao Zhentian's massive shadow was looming over him. Is that enough for you? He asked, glaring daggers at the Count. He got so scared he literally pooped his pants. Too easy. Even Riso was in disbelief. You couldn't see it with the naked eye, but the magic I felt in that moment was way beyond a normal pseudo-aura. Fu Yu just laughed and mocked them. You guys got idiots leaking their energy all over the place here too? The whole army just cracked up. Gao Zhentian turned around and gave the order to pull out. The soldiers cheered and immediately fell in line, but Riso was still reeling from how a pseudo-aura user was treated like some total chump. The old guy kept wondering, what the hell kind of place is Goguryeo, anyway? By dawn, the Goguryeo army was heading back to camp. Their flag was flapping in the wind. Gao Zhentian rode at the front, all proud and stuff, while Riso was still stuck in his head. He was racking his brain but just couldn't figure it out. The old guy kept bugging himself about it. I know more about this continent than anyone. So how have I never heard of a group with this much military muscle? Fu Yu noticed and rode up next to him to ask, hey, what's on your mind? Riso immediately started trying to get some answers. Yo, General Fu Yu, I've got a question. Where exactly are you people from? He just casually replied, didn't we already tell you we're from Goguryeo? The old man was kinda stuck, 'cause, like, who doesn't know that? But Riso forced a smile and pressed on. So, this place you call Goguryeo. Where is it? He stroked his chin, thinking. We took a ship from that direction. Suddenly, Fu Yu burst out laughing and said, ah, you know our camp, right? From there, it's just a 3-day boat ride. Riso's face lit up. Oh, a 3-day boat ride from the lake? A 3-day trip from the lake. Where could that even be? But honestly, he was speechless at Fu Yu's answer, other than just going in circles in that lake. Dumber than a pack of orcs. Riso tried to keep his anger in check. General Fu Yu, you know as well as I do that there's no way out of the lake, so how can you say you got to Goguryeo in 3 days? The guy finally got serious. Huh, you're right. Fu Yu then started acting it out, dramatically telling Riso about how he crossed a stormy sea. Watching Fu Yu's over-the-top performance, the old man just looked bored and couldn't be bothered to reply. Riso tried to figure it out himself. Did they just smash through the wall of water on the sea and end up in the lake in the Lan Mountains? The old man suddenly jumped, totally shocked. Could it be? Back at the Goguryeo camp, a soldier shouted out, the Grand Envoy has arrived. Open the gates. The guards hurried to push the gate open, and just like that, the troops were back safe and sound. At the same time, Chi Yongtam and Veron came running up, looking like they were running for their lives. He yelled, out of breath, General, it's an emergency. Quick as lightning, Chi Yongtam dropped to his knees in front of the horse and rushed to report every single detail. Soldiers have marched from the city to capture the homesteading farmers. We have to mobilize our forces immediately to prepare for their attack. But Gao Zhentian just gave him a fed-up look, totally blank, like he had no idea what was going on. Chi Yongtam begged him again. There's no more time to waste, sir. I, Chi Yongtam, rode day and night without rest to bring you this report. Gao Zhentian shot him an annoyed glance. Then, without a word, he just turned his horse and rode away. Chi Yongtam was completely baffled. Grand Envoy? Then Fu Yu came up from behind and said, you liar. Stop being so late to the party. What? The guy explained. You don't get it? You're beating the drum after the parade's already over, dude. We just finished wiping them all out and got back. Not only that, Fu Yu added with disgust, go change your clothes. You look like a freaking beggar. The soldiers and everyone else ignored Chi Yongtam and marched straight into the camp. The sun was setting. After listening to Chi Yongtam's long story, he finally wrapped it up. Chi Yongtam declared with a fiery passion, with my unwavering determination to deliver this report, I cut down every single one of my pursuers. But Gao Zhentian just said, and then what? He looked panicked and continued, but then, this giant 2-headed thing started chasing me. Gao Zhentian's face scrunched up in annoyance. And then? Chi Yongtam was still trying to sound tough. But who am I? I lost it with these swift feet of mine, he said, acting out the moves. Chi Yongtam kept laying it on thick. But you know what? There were thousands of those green bastards trying to kill me, he yelled, his eyes wide. Gao Zhentian just repeated, and then what? Hearing that, he got a little awkward. Thousands. Well, not exactly thousands. Hundreds. Gao Zhentian said it again, and then what? The guy totally froze up. Dozens. But Gao Zhentian was getting pissed. And then what? Finally, Gao Zhentian couldn't hold back anymore and snapped at him. So you're telling me you ditched everything we bought with the money from months of selling hides? He stammered in fear. Well. Chi Yongtam scratched his head, thinking. He muttered with a frown. If it wasn't for that Albin guy, or whatever his stupid name is, that's when it clicked for Gao Zhentian. He turned and ordered, Hui. Yes, sir. Gao Zhentian ordered quickly. Bring me that bedwetter. Sir? He scowled. The one named Albin or whatever. A moment later, Count Albin was brought over. All tied up, he immediately started running his mouth. Don't you know you can't do this to a nobleman of the kingdom? The collar around his neck suddenly started to glow. The Count declared loudly, according to international law, A nobleman captured as a prisoner of war must be treated according to his station. Hearing that, Gao Zhentian turned to ask a question. Is what he's saying true? Riso, who was standing beside him, replied, yes, it is. He frowned at Count Alban, then said in a low, threatening voice, fine, I'll treat him well. You wouldn't believe it, but the guy actually tried to negotiate. If you let me go right now, I'll give you 1,000 gold in ransom. Plus, I'll petition the king to grant you autonomy in this region. Hearing that, Gao Zhentian seemed to hesitate. Autonomy? We really do need a place to settle down comfortably. Count Alban smirked and added, from what I can see, it looks like you guys haven't pledged loyalty to anyone yet. I'm willing to take you on as my subordinates. Fu Yu and Wei Ji Wulu'u totally lost it, yelling, subordinates? That bastard dares to say crap like that? Get your head over here so I can split it open. What do you think you're doing? He quickly stopped them. Do not be disrespectful to Count Alban. The two of them had no choice but to obey. Count Alban shot them a contemptuous look, while Gao Zhentian quickly asked, you said you would take us in? He calmly replied, I'll give you the best treatment. So Gao Zhentian pretended to think it over. Count Alban smirked, all smug. See? Just play your cards right, and you not only get out of this mess but also get some elite troops. To everyone's surprise, he even stood up, bowed his head, and said, Count Alban, thank you for your trouble. Untie him. Yes, sir. Just like that, the soldiers untied Count Alban, and he rolled his wrists. The Count even smiled casually. To recruit a talent like you, I'm willing to endure even greater hardships. He kept gloating, all full of himself. Isn't that the virtue of a lord? Thank you for your great generosity. But then, Gao Zhentian put on a worried face. However, I do have one concern. Count Alban pressed. What is it? He answered slowly. I'm afraid my men might clash with the soldiers you already have in your territory. But the guy just said, confidently, don't worry about that. Right now, it's just the security force in the territory anyway. I manage them directly, so how could there be any problem? Count Alban slyly reassured him. Gao Zhentian continued. And if this force suddenly arrives, food might become an issue. And again, the guy puffed out his chest with confidence. My estate has enough provisions to sustain this force for more than half a year. Hearing that, he bowed his head in relief and said, thank you, sir. For now, please get some rest. Then, Gao Zhentian gave the order, take off the thing around his neck. The soldiers removed the necklace from his neck. And if that wasn't enough, Gao Zhentian dropped another order. Take him to a place with only the ripped farmhands we caught. Roger that. Count Alban smirked and bounced. So they dragged the guy back, but Riso was freaking out. Like, sir, they're gonna beat him to death. But Gao Zhentian just gave this chill smile and was like, and? So what if he dies? It's his destiny. Then he waved over Yan Hui Jialan, prep the troops. We move at dawn, day after tomorrow. Yes, sir. Riso, totally confused, asked, but sir, why dawn? Gao Zhentian plopped down and laughed. Why? You askin' why? That damn liar has to pay me back for the cart he lost. With interest, you know? The others cheered him on, totally into it. He smirked and laid it out. Right now, while that bastard's territory is weak, this is our shot. Isn't pillaging the fun part of war? Back in his cell, Count Alban totally lost it and started screaming. You bastards, he raged. How dare you do this to me? I'm going to be your lord. But the soldiers just ignored him and left. You've got to be kidding me. Open up, now, open up. You scum. All Count Alban could do was kick the hell out of the wooden door. Damn it, he grumbled, turning around. These idiots. Do they even know how to do their jobs? Just then, Count Alban realized he wasn't alone. Other villagers were locked up in there with him. They just stood there silently in front of him. But Count Alban didn't give a crap and just spat out, useless scum. Then, he pointed at the guy next to him and yelled, you! Hey, you! As he spoke, Count Alban flicked his hand, gesturing, bring me some water. The villager kinda hesitated, just looking at him. So Count Alban put on this whole act of being put upon, and sighed. He slowly walked over, and then just straight up kicked the guy in the gut, sending him crashing to the ground. But Count Alban wasn't done. He kept stomping on the man, cursing, you filthy piece of trash. The man could only curl up and protect his head, begging, please, spare me. The others just stood by, totally helpless. Another man, filled with rage, was about to charge forward, but someone else held him back. I'll kill you, wait! The other guy tried to restrain him. Didn't they say they'd kill any soldier who laid a hand on Count Alban? Hearing that, the man tried to swallow his anger. But then, the image of the villagers murdered by Count Alban flashed in his mind. He couldn't take it anymore and screamed, doesn't that just piss you off? Hearing him, it was like everyone else woke up. But the Count just casually kept his foot on the man. Count Alban even taunted him. Who the hell do you think you are? You little brat, daring to glare at me. A count. And just like that, the Count was thrown backward, slamming his whole body into a wooden pillar before collapsing. In a flash, the villager charged forward and punched him square in the face. Blood poured from Count Alban's mouth and nose. Terrified, all he could do was scream for help. Guards? But the man just stepped up behind him. Count. Alban trembled, stammering, I'm sorry, let's just talk about this first. But the man, insane with rage, gritted his teeth and raised his fist. I don't need your empty apology. Pay for your sins with your life. And just like that, he painfully received all of their pent-up hatred. His screams echoed loudly. The next morning, all the villagers were dragged outside the camp. They were huddled together in fear. The man who killed Count Alban the night before was tied up. Gao Zhentian stared at him for a long time before asking, "Why did you kill him?" But the man just stayed silent. So, the soldiers grabbed his head and slammed it into the dirt. They started stomping on him as Gao Zhentian repeated, "Why did you kill him?" Finally, the man spoke up. "So, you wanted me to just stand by and watch after seeing my enemy?" Gao Zhentian cracked a smile. Then he spoke. "Revenge, huh? A right given to humans. Are you human?" The man was stunned. "What?" But as he heard the next part, he flinched in outrage. "Insects don't have the right to talk about revenge." Gao Zhentian continued his questioning. "Besides you, who else dared to touch Count Alban?" To his surprise, the man shouted back, "What nonsense are you talking about? It was only me." Gao Zhentian glanced to the side and signaled the soldiers. Just like that, the man was dragged away. Fu Yu followed right behind them as they left. At this point, the villagers were all pale with fear. Unexpectedly, Gao Zhentian spoke up. "The life of a nobleman is worth more than 10 of your lives." Hearing this, everyone panicked. Now, if 9 more of them volunteered to die, the rest would be kept as slaves. They immediately started clamoring. "I did it! It was just me. Only me." At the same time, a weird energy washed over them, manipulating them. Gao Zhentian walked down from his post, getting closer. "Now then, if 9 more of you sacrifice yourselves, I will guarantee the lives of the others." But there was no answer. Gao Zhentian repeated. "No one?" They remained dead silent. Suddenly, a man stood up proudly. "Can you just take me and spare them?" "Just me." Gao Zhentian glanced over. 8 more to go. The soldiers tied him up and dragged him away. He still looked back and yelled, "Even if the quota isn't met, I believe you will spare my family." Gao Zhentian calmly replied, "I guarantee it." He announced again in a loud voice, 8 more. The man was forced down onto a wooden block in front of them. 2 soldiers held him down from behind while Fu Yu gripped his axe tightly. He walked over with a smile. The man, drenched in sweat, looked back in pure terror, and just like that, a blood-curdling scream erupted. The villagers were all trembling uncontrollably, but another person bravely stood up. "Take me too." 7 left. Gao Zhentian nodded at him. Another volunteer. 6. Then another villager. 5. Another person also accepted their fate. 4. The screams just kept coming, one after another. After a while, he asked again, "We're short 4 people," but this time, nobody answered. Gao Zhentian let out a sigh. Then he gave the order. "I will provide housing and a livelihood for the families of the 6 who died. They will be my people. Seize the rest and make them all slaves." Once that was settled, Gao Zhentian turned to leave. Useless trash. Inside the army barracks, it turned out the first man was still alive. Varan was sitting next to him and spoke up. "You're awake?" The man struggled to ask. "Baron, why are you here?" He just smiled and replied, "It's a long story. We'll talk about it after you've recovered." The man hesitated, confused. "Understood. But why am I still alive?" So Varan explained, "It was just a test." Hearing that, he was shocked. "A test?" Varan calmly explained. "You, along with the 5 residents who volunteered to sacrifice themselves, are allowed to live as citizens with your families, while the rest will have to live as slaves." The man was stunned. Damn it. On the other side of the room, the others lay unconscious on their beds. The man said, "That pain. It felt like I was dying. I was so sure I was dead." Varan hesitated. "Ah, well, about that. He said he was just testing to see if you had the will to go through with it. He never actually intended to kill you, but General Fu Yu said it had to look real." The man got agitated. "That short dude with the flashy axe?" Varan nodded. "Yeah, him." The man broke out in a cold sweat, just remembering it. Outside, Fu Yu was washing his axe. He'd poked everyone in the butt with it. Chi Yong Tom pinched his nose and asked, completely baffled, "Why the hell did you poke them in the butt? That's gross." So Fu Yu just replied, "Wanna know why?" "Duh," Fu Yu shot back, totally chill. "Like I've got anything to hide from you. What is it?" But then the guy just glared at him, all like, "Bend over. Now." Not even hesitating, Chi Yong Tom tried to make a break for it, but the old man snatched him. Chi Yong Tom was terrified, staring at Fu Yu's twisted expression. And then, another piercing scream echoed all over the place. That afternoon in the fields near the barracks, everyone was working their butts off. Sarah and Fu Yu were just sitting on a rock watching them, when she suddenly spoke up. Fu Yu, why are those people slaves? He stroked his chin, remembering. When they were first recruited, the general said you had to pick up a sword to be accepted. The townsfolk immediately started paying attention. If you can't sacrifice yourself, you'll be just as helpless when the enemy eventually invades. Even the soldiers turned to listen intently. Holding a sword is the most fundamental thing for a human. That's what matters most. Sarah's eyes widened in surprise, and Fu Yu recalled. I asked the Grand Ambassador a similar question once. Years ago, on a cliffside, Gao Zhentian told him that anyone can survive, but not everyone gets to enjoy freedom. Back then, a clueless Fu Yu said, I don't get it, Commander. Gao Zhentian just told him, look at the pigs cooped up in that pen. They just eat the food humans give them, and repeat the same actions until they die. But what about the ones living in the wild? When we try to catch them, they fight back to survive. Gao Zhentian looked back at him. But it's not just about surviving. If we manage to catch them and lock them in a pen, what do you think happens? Fu Yu quickly answered, they'll slam their heads against the pen. Right. The commander smiled. And why is that? Because they know freedom. Even beasts will do whatever it takes for freedom. In the past, humans lived free without nations or borders, following the teachings of the deity Huanan to benefit all of mankind. But that was short-lived. A bloody history began when traders got greedy. For their own prosperity, they oppressed others and stole their freedom. As he spoke, Gao Zhentian drew the sword at his side. That is why you must always remember the reason you hold a sword. He pointed it to the sky and declared, those who have no reason can never become strong. To protect freedom, you must hold a sword. And to hold a sword, you must know what freedom is. Gao Zhentian passionately explained. That's the difference in the weight of a sword held by someone who knows freedom versus someone who doesn't. He looked so fired up back then. So, let us raise our swords for the free will of Goguryeo. Back in the present, Fu Yu smiled at the memory. We have to hold a sword to protect things. The weak can't protect anything. The others were just stunned, listening to his story. He suddenly gave Sarah a light pat on the head and said, Sarah, I will protect you. She smiled brightly. I'd like that very much. That night, Gao Zhentian's army spurred their horses and continued their march. The thundering of hooves filled the air when suddenly the command came. Entire army, halt. Riso was completely astonished. They had covered a distance that should have taken a week in just 3 days, without a single sign of exhaustion. He looked around. He could understand the cavalry, but even the archers, who were on foot, could handle their horses that skillfully. Suddenly, a voice spoke beside him. Sir. Lu Wu approached him. The Grand Ambassador summons you. So, Riso followed him. After a while, he was shocked to see Gao Zhentian standing on a cliff up ahead, his eyes fixed on the sky. Riso, he said. This place is different from the world we know. No, wait. You already know that you and my people are different, right? The old man immediately bowed his head in response. Yes. The shape of the stars is different, the moon is different, the language is different too. Riso answered, frankly, I may not have any magical abilities, but I pride myself on having accumulated more knowledge than anyone else. Gao Zhentian turned to look at Riso intently. But in the world I know, there is no empire called Goguryeo. He asked again, is there a Tang dynasty? Riso still shook his head. No, sir. Gao Zhentian continued his questions. Do you know any of these nations, Baekje, Silla, Baidal, or the Han nation? But the old man's answer was still, I've never seen or heard of them. A gust of wind blew past, and the world fell silent for a moment. Gao Zhentian let out a sigh. Where in the world are we, and what is this place? Riso explained softly. This is the continent of Haiyan. Sir, it appears you have broken through the barrier of space. In other words, you've come to an entirely different world. 10,000 years ago, the ancient dragon Bersiza personally traveled the entire world and set up coordinates on every land. There is a type of magic called teleportation. It allows spatial movement through these coordinates. Riso bowed his head and said, however, the empires you mentioned are not located at any of those coordinates. So I believe you have come from another dimension, Gao Zhentian replied calmly. What's an ancient dragon? How could it fly around to confirm anything? And why do you trust it so blindly? Hearing that, Riso hesitated. Ah, the ancient dragons. The great race. We call them dragons. Gao Zhentian was surprised. A god? So the old man explained. Not exactly, but on this land, they are creatures that no nation or military force can touch. So, they're dragons, huh? Riso's eyes widened in confusion. Sir? To his surprise, Gao Zhentian burst out laughing mockingly. The shape is a little different, but a dragon is still a dragon. That's ridiculous. A world ruled by some worthless dragons. The old man froze, unable to respond. Then, Gao Zhentian pointed to the emblem on his chest. Do you know what this is? Riso answered immediately. A bird with 3 legs. And this symbol that lives in our hearts is called the three-legged crow, a divine beast that preys on dragons. The old man was utterly shocked to hear this, but Gao Zhentian simply placed a hand on Riso's shoulder and reassured him. You don't have to be afraid of those strange lizards. Just remember that. The old man stood there, stunned and confused. What? And just like that, Gao Zhentian walked away, returning to his waiting army. He stood still, just observing them. He was brimming with confidence, a place we can never return to. Gao Zhentian looked up at the sky, his mood turning somber. Is this the place we have to live from now on? After a long moment, the soldiers took off at a sprint. They were approaching the mansion of Count Ao Bin. One soldier quickly pressed himself against the wall to serve as a foothold. Another got a running start and vaulted up the high wall, and just like that, they breached the perimeter. The squad of soldiers reached the top of the tower. They crept inside silently, then drew their weapons in a flash to attack. Meanwhile, the enemy guards were completely oblivious, still yawning and complaining. Damn it, with the main army gone, there are a million things to do. I'm about to die from exhaustion. The guy next to him replied, You're always dozing off. How are you still complaining about being tired? That's why I'm tired. I never get to sleep in a bed. I have to sleep on my feet all the time. But he got no response. Why'd you stop talking? He hadn't realized his partner had just been run through with a sword. The guy didn't even have a chance to scream before his mouth was covered. Yongtam gave a signal, and his man started the interrogation. How many guards are on duty right now? If you answer truthfully, I'll give you anything you want. The guy could only nod. Good. Yongtam finally let go. The man trembled and stammered, 12 in total. And there are 5 more reserves in the building below the wall, he replied excitedly. All right, what should I give you then? The guy stammered out a plea. Please, just spare my life. Yongtam pressed on. Is that all? This made the guy pause for a second. Then he mumbled quietly, if it's possible, some money to resettle somewhere else too. But he kept pushing, cold and deliberate. Is that all? Is that really all you want from me? The guy's eyes lit up, totally stoked. Let me have a horse and give me a lot of money. Yongtam smirked. Sure thing. He was still on cloud 9 when a blade ran him straight through. Thanks. He trembled, looking down. Why? You said you'd grant my wish. But Yongtam was completely unfazed. I already did. If that's not enough, just say so. I'll give you everything. The guy finally collapsed, managing to choke out, You liar. As the group watched, he just casually remarked, What a letdown. The others standing by all looked at Yongtam with contempt. Liar. After that, they immediately gave the signal. Weiji Wulu'u saw it from a distance the signal had been given. Gao Zhentian held his horse's reins tight. Silent and swift, a small smirk played on his lips. He ordered with excitement, Begin the raid on Albin's estate. The night was pitch black. A gate slowly creaked open, and the sound of galloping horses filled the air. A whole squad of them approached the city gate. Gao Zhentian reined in his horse. In front of him stood 5 soldiers in a line. One of them bowed respectfully. He gave a cold command. Leave this place to us. Go protect the other gates. In unison, they replied, Yes, sir. Then they quickly took off. Gao Zhentian spoke slowly. Each squad will spread out and approach the target. Take out any patrol guards on site. No exceptions. Everyone behind him obeyed without question. Understood, he continued. Attack immediately when the signal is fired. Then his group split off in different directions, leaving only a small team with Gao Zhentian. He looked ahead cautiously, his target, the castle in the distance. The whole crew set off. Cut to another scene. Jay sighed, staring at the fire, his old eyes filled with sadness. He remembered Gao Zhentian's words. I'm giving you a few soldiers. Stay here until the battle is over. The old man had questioned it. Huh? Then what am I supposed to do? Without even looking at him, he replied, What else? You're going to pick out the goods. The old man was confused. I'm sorry? He laid out the plan. We're going to raid the house of a guy named Albin. He explained it all. But when we raid that place, there's going to be a mountain of stuff. So, between you and me, who do you think knows which of it is valuable? It started to click for Jay. Well, I would know better. But is that the only reason? Gao Zhentian thought of that bookshelf. That, and one more thing. No one knows more about the books and documents here than you do. Exactly. His eyes were dead serious. We need those books and maps to survive in this place. He glanced back. Your mission is to find them. The memory ended as the fire flared up. Jay was lost in thought. The master has decided to settle here. A soldier stood up. Let's get started. The old man complained, using a signal arrow to give the order. Seriously. But then, it hit him. Huh? He immediately bolted. We have to get to the castle. Hurry. The other soldier rushed after him. Sir, why are you suddenly running off like that? Jay explained in a hurry. It's my fault. A place this far from the capital. Of course there'd be a communication mage stationed here. I can't believe I didn't even think of that. He leaped onto a horse. The other soldier tried to calm him down. We'll cut off the signal towers and messenger posts first, so don't you worry. The old man snapped in frustration. You idiot, you don't know anything. It's magic, communication magic. Hearing that, the soldier just froze. Huh? Jay didn't hesitate and galloped away, the other soldiers scrambling to get their horses. The old man frowned. We have to stop them before they contact the kingdom. His eyes narrowed. If we don't, not a single person in the group heading forward will make it out alive. Cut to the mansion. Gao Zhentian rode his horse right through the gate, smashing it down. Soldiers were deployed in an instant. The mansion gate has been destroyed. Stop them! The two sides clashed. Gao Zhentian focused his gaze, swung his weapon, and took down several guys below him. A fierce battle broke out. Gao Zhentian decisively speared a guy through. Don't let a single one escape. Kill anyone who resists. More and more soldiers kept appearing. They charged with spears, but were cut down before they could even do anything. Gao Zhentian's horse just kept charging forward. A guy gritted his teeth in pain, trying to crawl away. Where the hell did this cavalry come from? Gao Zhentian shouted. Wei Ji Fulu, secure the inside of the mansion. Wei Ji Fulu quickly responded. Got it. He led his group forward. Follow me. They stormed into the mansion. He kicked the door open, and his men poured in. He warned them, if even one rat escapes, you'll be held responsible. Everyone replied, yes sir. They split into smaller groups to search. Wei Ji Fulu and 3 others headed down a flight of stairs. He had a sharp sense for the room. They immediately opened the door. He thought to himself, a perfect place for rats to hide. Then they moved deeper inside. Suddenly, he held up a hand, signaling them to stop. He stared intently at something, then looked back and said, wait here. He pressed his ear against the wall. A voice echoed from inside. Why are you struggling so much? Huh? Without a moment's hesitation, Wei Ji Fulu drew his bow and continued down. They reached a passageway. At the end of the hall was a cell. The person locked inside noticed them, but before he could do anything, an arrow hit him in the shoulder. Who's there? Wei Ji Fulu then ran over, peering intently inside. He ordered, bring a light over here. A soldier quickly brought out a torch. A flame was lit, and they used its light to continue. Wei Ji Fulu stared coldly at the guy from before. The arrow had pinned him to the wall. He raised his bow again, but this time his aim shifted to the girl next to him. The girl was exhausted, struggling to breathe. They were immediately stunned. Whoa, damn, girl. A beauty like this is enough to make any man's head spin. The girl slowly opened her eyes and looked at them. It was like something clicked for Wei Ji Fulu. He examined her carefully. Skin as white as jade, pointed ears. With that look, could she be an elf? They immediately slammed their heads on the ground. A goddess! A shady sound came from inside the cell. A girl's hair was being grabbed violently. The guy growled. Stop resisting. She winced in pain. Suddenly, a noise caught his attention. He stepped out to check, but was immediately hit by an arrow. She celebrated silently. They're finally here. You're going to save me. A voice called out. Whoa, damn girl. A beauty like this is enough to make any man's head spin. She slowly opened her eyes. She was surprised. A dwarf and a human. She was like, what the hell? A dwarf that tall? And using a bow instead of an axe? Seriously? She was drenched in sweat. Wei Ji Fulu couldn't take his eyes off her skin like porcelain, pointy ears. That look, could she be? Then his men started bowing to her. An elf. The girl was like, no freaking way. The so-called proud sons of the earth are bowing to me? Am I tripping? Cut to outside the mansion. Gao Zhentian's crew was totally winning. The rest of the losers were on their knees in a neat little row. One of the soldiers looked terrified. He stared up at Gao Zhentian as another guy ran up. General! He was holding a freaking head. We took out everyone who looked like they were part of Albin's family. The other soldier looked sick. Wiping out a noble's entire family without a second thought. That's something even the regular Green Forest bandits wouldn't pull. He snuck a look. Just who the hell are these guys? Gao Zhentian just coldly ordered, clean up the bodies. The soldier bowed and got to it. Gao Zhentian turned away just as Riso Ciaron's group showed up. The old guy looked totally panicked. General! Gao Zhentian was confused. The geezer jumped off his horse in a rush, and Gao Zhentian was like, what's the deal? I didn't even give the signal yet. The old man stammered out, contact. We have to stop the mage from making contact. Gao Zhentian shot back. The hell are you talking about? The old guy just waved his hands, all frantic. No time, I'll explain later. But, he glanced to the side, if we just ask the family or the servants of Baron Albin. The old man jumped when he saw the soldier casually lift the head. We didn't miss anyone. Gao Zhentian just calmly glanced at him. Yeah, looks that way. A voice cut through the air. General. Wei Ji Fulu came running, totally out of breath. General, he had that girl on his back. He quickly explained. I rescued an elf. Gao Zhentian tilted his head. An elf? Riso Siaran was thinking, what the hell is an elf doing here? The old guy immediately shut it down. Wei Ji Fulu, that thing on your back isn't human. Wei Ji Fulu snapped back, pissed off. You idiot, how can you compare an elf to a mere human? The old guy stammered. An elf? No, that's a… Gao Zhentian stepped forward. Hold on. Riso Siaran's eyes went wide. A massive amount of light was gathering in one spot. Energy was building up. The old man panicked. Oh, crap. Gao Zhentian asked. What's up? Nothing my soldiers can't handle, right? The old man explained. That's communication magic. It's like a signal flare. Sends a message straight to the capital. Instantly. The old man added. Seeing how much mana's gathered, it's already too late to go after them. A figure appeared inside the light. Gao Zhentian watched it, deep in thought, then turned. Wei Ji Fulu. He answered, yeah. So he set the girl down. She looked completely lost. He pulled out his bow, and Wei Ji Fulu took aim. Riso Siaran whispered, no way. The old man commented, from this distance, not even an elf's arrow could make that shot. He sounded defeated. All we can do is run. But Wei Ji Fulu stayed focused, dead set on his target. He let the arrow fly. It shot straight for the light, and the force of it created a shock wave. The arrow just kept going. A crazy collision happened, and the light just vanished. The guy up there totally fell off the tower. Everyone stared at him, jaws on the floor. Riso Siaran was completely stunned. The mana's gone. The elf girl was thinking the same thing. An arrow that even I, a high elf, couldn't see. Their crew headed into the mansion. A couple of soldiers were hauling some crates. Wei Ji Fulu yelled, move it! He walked over. What's this junk? He looked at the soldier. Think this weird crap is worth anything? The kid held the box. I don't know. A scream ripped through the air. No! Wei Ji Fulu shoved the door open and charged in. What's up? Riso Siaran had his head in his hands. My concentrated mandrake essence. Do you have any idea what this is worth? Wei Ji Fulu was like, Mandra, what's it? What's that? The old guy totally lost it. Get out, all of you. Wei Ji Fulu just stared at him. Stunned. The old man shoved them out. I'll handle this myself. Then the door slammed shut. He clutched the broken pieces in agony, screaming in pure despair. Everyone outside had no clue what to do. A soldier reported, General, we've hauled out everything valuable. Suddenly, Wei Ji Fulu noticed the suits of armor all lined up. He pointed, Yo, those armors standing over there. Bring 'em all here. The soldier was confused. Huh? What do you want that stuff for? He slapped the kid on the chest. We can melt 'em down for arrowheads. We're short on iron anyway. The kid frowned. Right. Then he went and told everyone else. General Wei Ji Fulu says to haul this scrap iron with us. He crossed his arms. And not just this. Bring me every last piece of iron you find. They were like, yes, sir. Gao Zhentian stroked his chin, looking at the mountain of stuff. He realized the carts weren't going to be enough. He ordered 40 soldiers to pass out the leftover grain to the townspeople, making sure the poorest got it first. The soldiers immediately got on it. He pointed at the suits of armor. And that stuff? Make sure you smash it flat before you load it up. The soldiers bowed and obeyed. Then they immediately started smashing the armor to bits. One guy looked kinda bummed about it. A full suit of plate armor, worth more than 10 years of a normal person's salary, getting treated like this. Real quick, the armor was just a pile of scrap. They were all talking amongst themselves. Man, they're really good at wrecking this stuff. Alright, there was a rustling sound, and a hand just burst out of the ground. The hand pushed up, and some random dude popped out. He threw back his hood. Finally, I'm in. Everyone just turned and stared at him, totally surprised. He whipped out his sword to introduce himself. I am Jorat of the Jorat. Who dares be the first to challenge me? But… crickets. Nobody did anything. He kinda froze. Hello? Gao Zhentian just deadpanned. Grab him. He facepalmed with a heavy sigh. Even the most famous mercs bow when they hear my name. And this is the crappy treatment I get? He gripped his sword, trying again. I am the greatest treasure hunter on the continent, one of the 10 masters. I am Jorat of the Jorat. The next second, a volley of arrows flew past him, one just grazing his cheek. Everyone gave him the death stare. They all stared at each other for a second. Then he dropped his sword and threw his hands up. I surrender. Jorat was surrounded by soldiers. He stared at one of them, black hair, black eyes. In all my travels across the continent, I've never seen anyone dressed like them, or who even looks like them. He frowned as the other guys just kept smashing the armor. His eyes went wide with shock. He couldn't take it anymore and screamed, Hey, you freaking psychos. Do you have any idea how much that stuff is worth? Nope. Gao Zhentian's voice cut in. Hey, Tomb Raider. Jorat immediately shot back. It's treasure hunter, a respectable profession exploring ancient dungeons. Gao Zhentian just brushed it off. Treasure hunter? Right. So, Tomb Raider. Gao Zhentian asked calmly. So, is that armor really that expensive? Jorat snapped. Damn right it is. Expensive doesn't even cover it. A normal family could live for 10 years on what one of those is worth. He could see the insane patterns and craftsmanship that put normal armor to shame. Armor like that. And these guys were just brutally smashing it. He couldn't help but snap. Stop right now. Gao Zhentian turned to break it up. Alright, that's enough. Wei Ji Wulul out for a second. Wei Ji Fulu was like, don't worry, General. He bragged all proud. The soldiers were too slow, so I handled the rest. Gao Zhentian just stood there, completely stunned. Meanwhile, Jorat was having a full-on meltdown about his precious cash. He was thinking to himself, as a treasure hunter, I usually make bank clearing dungeons, but in wartime, I try to keep a low profile and just get by doing whatever odd jobs I can find. He remembered, I heard Baron Alban was leading his army to the Laganza Mountains, so I figured I'd come and see if I could make a quick buck. Memories started hitting me. I'm the best damn treasure hunter on the continent. Robbing an empty house? That's kid stuff. He thought back to a second ago. Okay, so things went sideways real fast, he thought, but for a master swordsman like me, getting out of here will be easy. No sweat. Still, a little smirk played on his lips. The only reason I surrendered so easy? My occupational hazard. I'm just too damn curious. After this, I'm gonna figure out exactly who these freaks are. He got pissed. Yo, what was that for? Why'd you hit me? Gao Zhentian was ice cold. Watch your tone. He shot the guy a look. From now on, if you know something important like that again, you speak up. The dude looked super annoyed. And why the hell would I tell you guys that? He thought, whatever, I'll just deal with it for now. At least until I figure out what's going on. He grinned slyly. But I've already noticed one thing. Jorat realized pretty quick, that guy holds a grudge over the dumbest little things. The old man spoke up, all calm. That was a smart move. Gao Zhentian gave him a confused look. The old dude went on. During a war, money's worthless. The government is scooping up every piece of scrap iron to ship to the empire, so it's way better to just melt it all down. The old guy added. Plus, we'll make way more cash by using it to craft and sell dwarven armor. He rubbed his chin, all happy. Ah, I see. He looked up at the sky. Sun's almost up. Time to ditch this mansion and head home. People. Scene changed to some small town. People are walking out and spot these bags. Huh? One guy says. Totally shocked. Is this bread and grain? Hold up, who left this stuff here? Then another guy runs up, panting. Hey, something awful happened. He explained. Baron Alban's mansion. It's been completely wrecked. It's just full of dead bodies inside. The first guy was shocked. Who did it? The other guy answered, we don't know yet, looking really worried. I mean, it's great that scumbag Baron Alban is dead and all. But another psycho just like him is going to take over, right? Both of them stared at the bags of food. The first guy called out, hey, hey, he looked stoked. But hey, at least we finally have enough food to survive the winter. The older guy still looked skeptical though. Yeah, you're right. But still, every single house got 2 bags, whoever you are. The first guy beamed. Thank you. Meanwhile, Gao Zhentian's crew was making their way through the woods. A cart bumped along, with Jorat tied up and caged inside. The convoy kept moving until someone yelled, halt. He let out a sigh of relief. Man, riding in this thing is actual torture. Some soldiers dismounted to check it out, grumbling to each other. For real, even the rookies could build a better cart than this piece of junk. These guys must think anything round is a wheel. This is gonna suck. The 2 guys looked at each other. For now, let's just report to the general. Yes, sir. Jorat was silently scoping the place out, thinking, I have no idea what the hell is going on here. He was curious. Out of all the places they could go, why are we heading towards the freaking dangerous Laganza Mountains? He watched the knights super closely. They're decked out in full body scale armor, all the way to their ankles. Even their horses are covered head to hoof in the stuff. He thought it was seriously weird. But the weirdest part is their magic. It feels totally alien. Even for a master swordsman like myself, it's hella hard to get a read on their power levels. He did the math in his head. One wrong move, and getting out of here is basically impossible. He froze for a sec, then shook it off, getting his confidence back. Whoa, getting all worried for nothing. That ain't like me. He slowly got to his feet. Sit your ass down, a guard demanded. Jorat just gave this cryptic smile, and then busted right out of the cage. The ropes he was tied with? He tore through them like they were paper. The soldiers freaked out, yelling, prisoner escape. Jorat landed gracefully on his feet as the guards aimed their bows at him. He just gave them a cocky look. They let a ton of arrows fly, but he dodged them like it was nothing. He charged forward, booted one soldier into next week, and then hopped onto a supply wagon. He stuck his hand in his pouch and slapped a bracelet on his wrist, then raised his hand up. Gao Zhentian pulled his sword and barked out orders. Keep the other prisoners under control. Get off your horses and take that guy down, now. Jorat looked smug. Bingo, Gao Zhentian commanded. Careful now. Form a perimeter and don't let him grab anything he can use as a weapon. He grabbed a sword. Oh geez, whatever shall I do? Then Jorat whipped out his own sword, ready to fight. How about this sword right here? Everyone was like, what the? How the hell did a huge sword like that come out of a tiny little bag? He leaped off the cart. Alright, time to get in my getting the hell out of here stance. Yeah? The soldiers swarmed Jorat immediately, but he just looked cocky. Guess it's time to make my move, huh? And with that, he charged with his sword. I'm starting with you. The soldiers were totally ready for him. One guy's eyes were locked on, not even flinching. Then, clang, their swords smashed together. They stared each other down. Jorat jumped way back, totally shocked and frowning. Damn, I thought all that heavy armor would slow him down. Never thought he'd parry that so easily. The soldier was thinking the same thing, and made a call. Let's hold off on calling the commander. I want to see what this dude can do. A second later, Jorat rushed in again. He lunged with his sword, his blade getting dangerously close to another soldier's throat. But to Jorat's surprise, the guy blocked it like it was nothing. Right after that, 2 more soldiers jumped him. They all swung their swords at him at the same time. All Jorat could do was desperately backpedal. He gritted his teeth and muttered, crap, even their regular soldiers are this strong? What the hell is going on? But the soldiers? They didn't even flinch. Every single one of them was zeroed in on him. He scanned the area, sizing them up. So they're all decked out in the same armor, huh? Jorat thought, escaping now is going to be a pain in the ass. Crap. His grip on his sword tightened. But surrender? A cocky smirk spread across Jorat's face. Yeah, not my style. Then, pulling himself together, he dove back into the fight, all aggression. The soldiers were quick on the uptake, blocking his attack. Jorat's blade slashed against their armor. The fight was getting intense, all while Gao Zhentian just watched. He just casually dropped a comment, this fight's, okay, I guess. Wei Ji Wuluo, right beside him, chimed in, nah, he's a skilled fighter. Every strike is clean and on beat. The old man had a sharp eye. It's not just skill, the guy's got balls of steel. Oh, right, Wei Ji Wuluo calmly thought to himself. He probably figured out way before that escape was impossible, and yet, he didn't even hesitate. His blade didn't shake once. He figured this was going to take a minute. The old guy pointed out that without horses, the cavalry is basically useless. Then he piped up with an idea. So, we gotta send a real fighter in there. Gao Zhentian. Zhentian glanced back and asked, got anyone for the job? Wei Ji Wuluo just casually suggested, that con artist is our best bet, sir. Chi Youngtam was in the back, just shooting the breeze with some other soldiers. He let out a little smirk. Huh. He shot a knowing look back at Wei Ji Wuluo. Then he noticed the soldiers with Chi Youngtam, laughing it up. You dare trick me? Riso spurred his horse forward, demanding, what the hell is going on? Gao Zhentian explained. Back in the city, I caught some thief trying to make a run for it. Oh? The old man squinted at the guy they were talking about. He saw Jorat still going hard in the fight. That face looks way too familiar. I swear I've seen him somewhere. The guy was non-stop, blocking all the heavy hits from the soldiers. Jorat ducked under the swords of 2 guys and, in a flash, had his own blade pointed at one of them. The sword ground against the iron armor, shooting out a spark. One of the soldiers came at Jorat, totally meaning business. Jorat just flipped over, using his leg to block the dude's slash. The flip worked, getting Jorat clear of the blade. 2 more soldiers rushed him from behind. Jorat did a spinning kick, swinging his sword hard to fight them off as he turned. Jorat frowned, thinking, damn, this kind of teamwork. This ain't from a couple of practice runs. The longer this drags on, the more screwed I am. In that case, his whole vibe suddenly shifted. The sword in his hand started to glow, electricity crackling all around it. Jorat glared and roared, try and stop this. The soldiers were a little shocked but kept their cool. Look out. He slammed the glowing sword down. Just, look out. You think that's going to be enough? The soldiers scrambled to line up their swords, 4 blades against his one attack. Jorat gritted his teeth, pressing down hard. You blocked my sword without even using an aura blade? Are you kidding me? His eyes lit up, the glow getting more intense, so bright it blinded the soldiers. Lightning bolts shot out from Jorat's sword. He announced, all right, no more holding back. That's when it hit Riso. Oh, crap, that's Jorat. The Jorat bolt. Gao Zhentian whipped his head around to the old man, surprised. You know this guy? Riso looked panicked, yelling for them to stop. He's one of the top 10 strongest swordsmen on the entire continent, and a master swordsman in the freelance world. The old dude said it again, all frantic. You have to stop him, now. Jorat stomped on a soldier's foot, then slammed his head into the guy's forehead. He coldly raised his sword. Later, a flash of light shot out of nowhere, slamming into him and knocking him off the soldier. Jorat couldn't even react, just squeezed his eyes shut. He got thrown way back. What the? Some guy slowly walked up and called him out. I'll deal with this one. Jorat stared at the sword in the dude's hand, confused. How the hell did a flimsy blade like that block my longsword? The guy was none other than Chi Yongtam. Damn, he's strong. He pointed his sword forward. Show me what you've got. The two of them faced off for a second, and then Jorat just let out another angry roar. He raised his sword, crackling with lightning energy. Chi Yongtam saw it but was totally unfazed, which just pissed Jorat off even more. Is he laughing at me? Does he think this is funny? All of a sudden, the ground under his feet just crumbled. Chi Yongtam looked interested. Ah, so this is sword ki. Jorat heard that and was like, huh? Sword ki? What the hell is sword ki? He shook it off. Whatever, I don't care what it is. And with that, Jorat just charged, yelling, here I come. Chi Yongtam was already in position, ready to go. One guy held his sword high, the other held his at his waist. He swung up from below, but Jorat dodged it like it was nothing. Chi Yongtam leaned back, and a piece of his shirt got sliced off. Jorat wobbled for a second but got his balance back fast. Chi Yongtam was right there with him, not missing a beat. They rushed each other again, both laser-focused on their target, putting everything into the fight. Lightning crashed down from the sky, smoke and dust went everywhere, and then Jorat got blasted back, his back slamming into a supply cart. His lightning power started to fade. Chi Yongtam just laughed, totally smug. Jorat was not having it, but Chi Yongtam just silently turned and started to walk off. He couldn't take it and yelled, what the hell is this crap? Then suddenly, Chi Yongtam bent over a little, his hand gripping the handle of his sword. Jorat had no idea what Chi Yongtam was doing. The guy was just standing there in some weird pose. Chi Yongtam clenched his sword, leaning forward just a bit. Riso frowned, totally confused, just watching quietly. Then, out of nowhere, this gust of wind started swirling around Chi Yongtam. The wind got stronger, blowing all the way over to Jorat, who was just frozen in shock. Magic energy? Riso zoned in even harder, having no clue what was about to go down. He instantly unleashed his power. His sword started crackling with electricity again. He crouched low, digging his feet into the ground as the wind whipped around, making the trees shake. But then, just like that, everything went dead silent again. Chi Yongtam was still just standing there, not moving an inch. Riso was surprised and confused. It was like the air itself was freezing over. He couldn't believe it. The entire area had changed. Everything just stopped. Chi Yongtam slowly turned around, his hand moving just as slow. He finished the turn, but then suddenly, lightning fast, he slashed forward with all his might. Jorat was just out of it, completely floored by what was happening. He was still standing there like an idiot, totally clueless that Chi Yongtam's attack was flying right at him. Jorat was still just thinking to himself, is that just the wind? Then, out of nowhere, his sword just snapped clean in half. That's when Jorat finally freaked out. And it wasn't just that. All the damn trees behind him got sliced down, collapsing to the ground. Just one move with that insane power kicked up a huge dust cloud, but Chi Yongtam was still giving him a death stare. Jorat glanced back, totally stunned, and could only go pale and force a stupid grin. Once it was over, Chi Yongtam just stood there, all calm and collected. The two of them just stood there, silently sizing each other up. Jorat suddenly broke the silence. Gotta admit, that sword move was sick. Chi Yongtam let out a breath and shot back, you too. They looked at each other with grudging admiration. Jorat turned and started walking back. Well, I'm out of here. The others were just staring after him, totally clueless, as he looked at his broken sword and sighed. Crap, this thing was expensive and now it's trashed. Then he casually chucked it into the wagon with the rest of the scrap metal. Jorat climbed back onto the wagon and yelled, all right, let's get this show on the road. He went back inside and plopped down in his old spot. The soldiers started shouting, urging everyone on. What are you all doing? Let's move it. Gao Zhentian growled an order. Tell that bastard to get his ass over here, now. And just like that, the caravan started moving again. But this time, Jorat had to run alongside the caravan while tied up. He gritted his teeth, pissed off and dripping with sweat. Unbelievable. By the time night fell, 3 soldiers were suddenly huddled in a corner of the forest. They looked at each other, all excited. Should we do this? With that, one of them stabbed a knife deep into the ground. And just like that, they started frantically digging. The 3 of them were at it for a while, until one of them yelled out in joy, there it is. The 3 of them exchanged excited glances as a carefully wrapped jar was gently lifted out. But then, a shadow just popped up right behind them. Huh? The shadow looked kinda familiar, and the 3 soldiers suddenly realized who it was. They dropped to their knees in terror and started begging. General Fulu, please spare us. We just used some leftover grain to make it. We swear, we just checked and saw the wine was ready, so we were gonna offer it to you. Please, you gotta believe us. The 3 of them were trembling so hard they didn't even dare to look up, completely soaked in sweat. But nothing happened. Confused, they slowly peeked up. Turns out it was Gallingstone. standing in front of them with an axe. He then casually chugged the whole bowl of wine in his hand, and they got all hyped up, praising him non-stop. "Damn, this stuff is way better than I imagined. Is this called rice wine?" Gallingstone exclaimed in surprise. "It looks like soup, but goes down crazy smooth." The soldier finally dared to breathe and said, "Man, you have no idea how scared we were. We thought you were General Fu Lu." The guy just burst out laughing, totally amused. "I just saw someone sketchy and thought it was an enemy, so I gave chase." One of them got curious and asked, "So what's the booze in this world taste like?" Gallingstone paused for a moment, thinking, then replied, "It's decent." But the three dwarves looked at each other and gave a signal. "Of course it is. That's how it should be." Then all three of them cheered excitedly. "Beer is number one." Hearing that, the soldiers were all confused. "Beer? What the hell is that?" The three dwarves just smiled mysteriously. "Oh, it's a thing. Yeah, that tingly feeling on your tongue." He got even more curious and said, "This thing you call beer, we'd really like to try it." Gallingstone was about to say something but got cut off. "Actually, about that, Gallingstone." But he immediately cut in with a serious tone. "As members of the Earth tribe who were treated to rice wine, we gotta return the favor, right?" After that, they headed back to the three dwarves' house. The three soldiers couldn't believe they were actually getting to taste beer from this world. After one sip, they couldn't help but shout in excitement. "How can it taste like this?" "This is beer?" the three soldiers asked, completely blown away. "You guys made this insane stuff yourselves? That's seriously impressive. But what are the ingredients for beer?" Gallingstone answered casually. "Ingredients? Barley. What else?" The soldier was still looking confused. "So, where'd you get that barley?" He was about to spill the beans when the other two quickly covered his mouth. "From the storeroom." "Duh. Gallingstone, you're drunk." The three soldiers finally got it. The reason there was no more barley on the menu these past few days was because of them. They freaked out and spat out the beer in their mouths. The three of them started panicking and chewing them out. "If we get caught, we're dead meat." "Yeah, this is totally different from using leftover rice to make wine." But Gallingstone was still acting all calm. "Weiji Wulul out. We of the Earth tribe are always straight up, no matter what anyone says." He even offered them more. "I'll handle everything. Come on, keep drinking. I told you, it's fine." But the three soldiers were already shaking with fear and refused to drink anymore. Gallingstone raised his hand and continued, "Dwarves have a saying, getting caught is a crime, but getting away with it is a talent." Right at that moment, a voice boomed as the door was kicked open, splintering into pieces. "Busted." It was Fu Yu, who had found them out, with Xianghu storming in. He smirked and said, "Gallingstone means stone, doesn't it?" They turned, their faces pale, to look at Fu Yu. "You three rocks, get your asses over here. Now." The next morning, the three dwarves were dragged out to the fields to plow. The village chief looked at them, completely stunned. "Whoa, in my entire life, I've never seen a dwarf farm before. I've never even heard of such a thing." One was digging, one was plowing, and one was sowing seeds, while Fu Yu watched over them from up high. "You rocks better finish before the sun goes down. You hear me?" He glared and screamed. "If you want to live, work like animals." As night fell, the army quickly set up camp to rest. The soldiers quickly prepared dinner. The elf girl they had rescued from Baron Alban's castle was so gorgeous they couldn't take their eyes off her. Gao Zhentian finally spoke up. "Riso, try asking the young lady why she was being held captive there." The old man quickly stepped forward to speak. "To the child of the great forest, the embodiment of balance and possessor of eyes that see through to the truth, the human mage, Riso Ciaron. Greetings to you." She bowed her head gently in reply. "To you, Riso. A fragment of chaos and a child nurtured by mana, I, Haya Vikimia of the High Elf race, express my gratitude to you." Hearing this, Riso was absolutely floored. "What? A High Elf?" The old man, confused, quickly pressed on. "Why would a noble High Elf have to suffer such a cruel fate? Compared to humans, they were basically gods." Haya answered calmly. "We High Elves often visit the other elf tribes to bestow blessings upon the newborn." She then recounted her story. "During one such visit, I was unfortunately captured in the domain of Baron Alban. He possessed a rare secret art, monolocking shackles, which is why I couldn't escape." Riso frowned, thinking to himself, "Even though elves are peaceful, if you mess with a high elf, their people will become a terrifying force of vengeance." He couldn't have known that. How the hell does Baron Alban plan to deal with this mess? Gao Zhentian sat next to him, chin in hand, lost in thought. So, that's how it is. Fu Lu, sitting beside them, was getting antsy and turned to urge him. "Hey master, let me borrow that ring for a sec." "Fu Lu," the guy snarled. "That ring is your master's sacred treasure. You idiot. You dare use it for your own selfish crap? You call that honorable?" So he just sadly nodded along. "My bad," Fu Lu mumbled resentfully. Why's even the senior sister gotta bring that up? But then, out of nowhere, Haya sat up and slowly walked over to Wei Wei Ji Wulufulu. She raised both hands to his head, then gently pressed her own forehead against Wei Wei Ji Wulufulu's. Haya started muttering something in Elvish. Hien Sarum Risoidium. And then, bam! A blinding light flashed from his forehead, making Riso and Gao Zhentian stare like total idiots. Even the guards outside noticed the crazy light coming from the tent. The two of them stood there quietly for a sec. Then Haya gently pulled away. Fulu was still just standing there, completely clueless about what just went down. Then, right in front of him, Haya bowed her head and spoke. Haya Vikimia of the High Elves greets the descendant of the legendary warrior. Fulu totally freaked. Huh? I can understand you. He couldn't stop himself from getting all hyped up. I can actually understand you. Gao Zhentian quickly turned to Riso. What the hell was that? The old man wasted no time explaining. High Elves can use their magic to sync someone else's language with their own. You can think of it as a type of magic. Oh, so that's it. Haya saw him kneeling at her feet and gently sat down next to him. She gave Fulu this affectionate look. They just stared at each other for a bit, really checking each other out. An image from his mind popped into hers. I feel a wind, a powerful wind sweeping across the continent. Fulu was ecstatic. You can feel that from me? Haya Vikimia nodded. Yes. Then, she turned towards Riso. Haya gave the old man the same silent, see-through look. Then she offered some advice. Sir Riso, don't be in such a rush. The time will come when you'll break through your block and achieve harmony with the ages. Riso immediately bowed his head. Thank you for your guidance. Gao Zhentian, totally lost, impatiently demanded. What are you guys doing? The old man turned and explained again. One of her abilities is to see a person's true nature. Gao Zhentian's eyes lit up, suddenly curious. My nature? Huh? So Gao Zhentian sat down next to Haya. Can you sense anything from me? She looked up and tried to get a read on him. Haya focused, trying to see his essence. But all she saw was this murky, dark space surrounding her. No matter how hard Haya Vikimia tried to search, there was nothing but a deep abyss with only her in it. Haya slowly opened her eyes. She frowned, hesitating before admitting, I can't tell. He listened to Haya calmly. All I saw was just a void. Fulu immediately started cracking up next to them. So, does that mean our general is just a total airhead? He just kept laughing his ass off on the side. The general's got nothing in there. Gao Zhentian's face scrunched up in rage. And then twack the sound of a solid punch. Fulu was out cold as he got dragged away. And just like that, the two of them left Haya's tent. She clasped her hands together and thought to herself, it's either a void, or maybe infinite tolerance. The next morning, the army was tearing ass down a road surrounded by mountains, the soldiers pushing their horses like they were trying to fly. Suddenly, they spotted trouble up ahead. Some guy turned his head and yelled out the order, entire army, slow down. Up ahead, a freaking mob of orcs was blocking their path, with a bunch of boars in front. They were just standing there, radiating bloodlust, waiting for them. Wait, no. A whole horde of orcs is showing up. Mukaber, son of Mukaber. But Fulu didn't give a damn and just spurred his horse to the front of the line. The mounted archers are in the back, so the main squad will take them on. He bellowed an order. Left flank, with me! Mukaber immediately started roaring too. It's those horse-riding freaks. The orcs quickly formed up, basically climbing on top of each other. Get in formation. Formation. He confidently thought to himself. I am Mukaber. Unlike my father, Mukaber. My father's mistake was leaving a gap for the enemy to slip through and hit the archers. The orcs have made a solid wall with no holes in this canyon. But I, Mukaber, have blocked every single way around. Fulu just kept leading the charge, not slowing down one bit. And there were no archers here, just a dozen or so cavalrymen. Mukaber smirked, totally full of himself. This time, we'll definitely win. Meanwhile, Fulu, still charging, was just confused. Why do the pigs in this country love huddling together so much? Haya, riding behind him, was getting a little worried. The orc formation is super hard for a galloping cavalry to break through. They should be waiting for the main army or fighting hand-to-hand. So why are they just charging straight in? And then, Fulu suddenly raised his bow and took aim, drawing the string back as he yelled, "Load the arrow guides." The soldiers behind him quickly followed his command, making Haya look back in total shock. They let go of the reins completely, not even needing to control their horses. Not even the elves, a race known for harmony, can be that in sync with their horses. She noticed the soldiers' weird bows. Hey, that's the small bow I saw them use when they took out the messenger mage in the city. Fulu glanced back and gave her a heads up. Hey, elf lady, you better hold on tight. Haya immediately wrapped her arms around him. Then Fulu muttered excitedly, all right, let's do this. A small arrow flew. Fire! At his command, all the other arrows followed. An orc got nailed right in the head, then others started getting hit one after another. Haya's eyes went wide, and she couldn't help but be amazed. Elven arrows fly true with the wind, thanks to our strong connection with nature. They're guided by nature's will. But I don't sense the pine scent of the spirits from their arrows. Their archery is different from ours. And even though they're firing from galloping horses, their arrows are even faster than ours. And it wasn't just fast. The solid orc wall was completely demolished by the arrows. I mean, they were so fast you couldn't even see them. That Mukaber dude ate dirt, face planting on the ground. He was still totally stunned. No way. How can humans shoot bows while riding horses like that? Then, 100 orcs came raining down on top of him. He was lying there, frozen in panic, when suddenly Mukaber stared in shock. The ghost of his father, Mukaber, appeared right in front of him. The guy even smiled and waved at him. Mukaber, my son, come to your father. And then the pile of orcs came crashing down, squashing him flat. Seizing the chance, the army charged in to mop up the rest of the orcs. The supply wagons had just arrived in the back, and Jorat was watching, completely dumbfounded. Heavy armored cavalry, shooting bows from horseback? Not a single knightly order in the Empire can pull that off. And not only that, but the soldiers from the rear were still charging in aggressively as reinforcements. Some guy faked a couple of coughs. Jorat just kept staring at the charging soldiers, completely floored. 150 men. And they're all knights? And what's more, all of them were at a swordsman level or even higher. Not even the Empire's most elite cavalry could compare to them. Starting as just wandering swordsmen, you grind your way up to sword adept, and once you get a handle on your aura, people start calling you a sword master or a sword lord. But the top tier? That's a grandmaster. And get this, there are only 15 of those losers on the whole continent. And yeah, I'm one of them. Dude was sweating bullets, totally shocked, couldn't believe his eyes. Like for real? You could round up every single swordmaster on the continent, and you probably wouldn't even get 200 of them. But the Goguryeo army was still looking damn tough right in front of Jorat. After taking care of the orcs, they kept pushing through the mountains. Jorat was stumbling, struggling to keep up. He's running along thinking to himself, the Laganaza range is like the most dangerous place ever, so harsh you can barely survive. How the hell could a kingdom even exist in a place like this? He was so zoned out that he smashed his face right into the carriage. Jorat grabbed his nose, whining in pain. What the hell? Why'd they just stop all of a sudden? Seeing what was in front of him, Jorat had a total existential crisis. No freaking way. This is insane. How can a massive building like that even exist in the middle of the Lanrak Mountains? Cut to the city gate. Some dude is yelling his head off. Open the damn gate. The Grand Emissary is back. Open it up, now. As soon as they heard the order, the knights went to open the gate. A whole squad of knights shows up out of nowhere, all on horseback, getting ready to roll in. And Jorat? He's getting dragged along behind them, all tied up. Crap, I gotta figure out what they're yelling about. My bracers? What the? Suddenly, his brow wrinkles up like he spotted something. Turns out, right in front of him, is this whole squad of knights, lined up all perfect and stuff. Jorat's just staring, totally dumbfounded. Huh? You're telling me all of these guys are actually knight level? Just the thought of it made him groan. Meanwhile, this Buyo guy is reporting, mission accomplished, Grand Emissary. And the dude he's talking to? It's none other than Gao Zhentian. He checks the place out and is like, okay, now it's starting to look like a real village. Then, out of nowhere, some guy nearby starts talking. Looks like those old stones had to go through a bit of hell. Seeing that, he's super confused. What's the deal? The way these guys look. Buyo just grins and says, I'm just putting things back in order. No big deal. Sir? Then his eyes flick over to Jorat, all curious, and he asks, so, who's the dirtbag kid tagging along back there? Gao Zhentian just sounds bored and says, a tomb raider who's decent with a sword. Hearing this, the guy is totally floored. Decent with a sword? Wait, did you just, compliment that guy? Then he turns and marches right up to Jorat to interrogate him. Hey, tomb raider, what's your name? Jorat gives him a total once-over. This dude's just like that grimy dwarf from the palace, huh? But seriously, what kind of dwarf is as tall as these other chumps? Seeing the other guy just standing there quiet, Buyo starts getting pissed. I'm asking you for your name. He just plays it cool and answers. Name? It's Jorat. He barely gets the word out before a fist slams right into his face. The guy who decked him? Buyo, of course. This loser, getting sucker punched like that. Jorat is just like, what the hell? Why the sudden attack? He doesn't even have time to process before Buyo trips him up. All he can do is grit his teeth and take it, while Buyo stands over him, screaming. What the hell? What kind of game are you playing? Leo, being a total gossip in the back, chimes in. Dude was totally asking for it. Meanwhile, Riso, who saw the whole thing go down, is just speechless, just for asking his name. A second later, things get even crazier when Gao Zhentian orders, hang him. The old dude sees this and freaks out, yelling, please, sir. Jorat's a grandmaster. The old guy is completely lost, thinking, what the hell is he trying to do? Cut to later that afternoon. Riso's just taking a walk when he hears all this racket. And who is it? Of course, it's Jorat, strung up on a spear. The guy is just screaming his lungs out. You're all gonna regret messing with Jorat. Gao Zhentian is standing right in front of him, getting ready to swing his sword. Seeing this, Riso runs out, stuttering. Ma master. Thank God, the sword stopped like 10 centimeters from Jorat's face. Riso nervously asks his master, why? He just gives him a cold look and says, to avoid regrets later, you gotta nip the problem in the bud. The old man tries to hint, you know, Jorat is kind of a big deal on the continent. But tough luck, it did nothing to change Gao Zhentian's mind. I took him in to be useful, not to look pretty. At that response, the old dude's jaw just hits the floor. Huh? Then Gao Zhentian adds, he already turned down my offer to join my crew. The old guy finally gets it. Oh. Meanwhile, Jorat's just been shamelessly watching them this whole time. Then Gao Zhentian speaks up with a proposal. You lost. You've got two options. Die, or serve me. Jorat immediately starts playing hard to get and turns his head away. Seeing that little act, he keeps going, look, I'm only saying this because I think you could crack the top 10 in my army. Jorat totally loses it and screams, I'm a grandmaster. There are only 15 of us on the entire continent. And you're telling me there are 9 guys here who are stronger than me? You got the nerve to say that to my face? Gao Zhentian just calmly replies, you're still just a kid. That one quiet comment makes his eyebrows shoot together. What? Gao Zhentian says, full of confidence. Stick with me, and I'll turn that weakness of yours into something perfect. Jorat's face totally darkens. Treating a grandmaster like garbage. I'd rather die. All of a sudden, Gao Zhentian's eyes get ice cold. He doesn't say another word and just swings his sword. Out of nowhere, the rope holding him snaps, and obviously, Jorat eats dirt, face first. Crap. At the same time, Gao Zhentian's sword starts giving off this weird glow. Everyone there is totally freaking out. It's the formless sword aura. Riso is thinking, non-elemental mana? Seriously? With sword aura, everyone's got a color that matches their element. Like Jorat, for instance. His aura is white, because it's packed with lightning. But the master's sword aura? It has no color at all. Just this transparent, shimmering vibe. And it blows past Jorat's 1 meter, reaching almost 5 meters. Just then, Gao Zhentian spits out coldly. You're proud of wasting energy like that? Moron. Jorat, still fuming, snaps back. I might be weaker, but I'm still a real knight. If you can't respect knights, then don't you dare insult their pride. Then Gao Zhentian yanks his sword back. Turns out he's just putting it away. He asks, everyone and their mother calls themselves a knight. What does that even mean? Jorat shoots back without missing a beat. You're asking because you genuinely don't know? A knight is loyal to their master and protects the weak. Hearing this, Gao Zhentian just calmly asks, that's it? Jorat gets super pissed at that. What do you mean, that's it? Stop dissing knights. Gao Zhentian doesn't hold back and just lays into him. A house dog is also loyal and protects its weaker pups, so I guess that makes dogs knights now. Jorat's jaw just drops. What? Done arguing, Gao Zhentian just turns his back and says calmly, follow me. I'll show you what a real knight is. At that exact moment, over on the training grounds, some kid is getting a wooden staff shoved right through him, and just like that, he gets slammed to the ground. His opponent doesn't even let him catch his breath before ordering, pick up your sword. Seeing this, he has no choice but to force himself back up. Then, acting like he wasn't even hurt, he just keeps on training. Over here, Gao Zhentian just brought Jorat and Riso over, telling them that that's what a real knight looks like. Jorat just gives him a cold look. Huh? Looks like total chaos to me. Suddenly, he points off in the distance towards a bunch of kids who are just messing around and playing, and I suppose they're knights too. All eyes were now on those kids. Jorat frowned, totally confused. What kind of game is this guy playing? Then, Gao Zhentian spoke up again. Everyone here is a knight, just like you said. Unable to take it anymore, Jorat snapped. Alright, what the hell is your point? Seeing this, Gao Zhentian just let out a small smile. At the same time, over at the training grounds, the knights were scrambling into formation when they heard the ambassador had arrived. In just a few seconds, everyone was lined up perfectly. Gao Zhentian, full of charisma, asked, why are you all here? That same young dude from before answered with total conviction. To survive, sir. He asked again, why do you have to survive? It was the same guy's voice. I have to survive. To kill your enemies? Was the next question. Why kill? The kid squeezed his eyes shut. To win? Gao Zhentian kept pressing. And why do you have to win? The young guy answered innocently. If we win, our unit survives. If the unit survives, we can protect our country. Then came another question. And why protect the country? He answered sincerely. So my family can be safe. Finishing his questions, Gao Zhentian said, if that's the case, you could die in the war. If you surrender, you and your family both live. The kid shot back without a moment's hesitation. It's completely different, sir. Hearing that, he was a little confused. How is it different? The kid said firmly that if they gave up, they would lose their spirit of independence. Jorat, who had been watching the whole thing, was pretty stunned. Gao Zhentian turned to look at him, quite satisfied. Seeing his look, Jorat gave a forced smile, admitting that while their skills were whatever, their attitude was pretty decent. Still, guys at that level are a dime a dozen in the Royal Knight Barracks. Gao Zhentian's expression turned serious again. Maybe so, but just 3 months ago, they were dirt-poor farmers. If you're so smug about your flashy knight title, I won't stop you. But remember this, the reason anyone picks up a sword is the same. The title of knight doesn't make that reason any nobler. A sword is for defense, a unit is for victory, and a nation is built so we can all protect it together. I'll set you up with your own quarters. Stay or go, it's up to you. But if we meet again on the battlefield, we'll be enemies. The scene changes to the next day on a hillside. Jorat was walking, his mind racing. Free will, huh? Suddenly, his attention was caught by 2 kids practicing with a bow. Without thinking much, he called out, "Hey, kid." Then he knelt down to talk to them. "Who gave you that bow?" Without hesitating, they said, "The soldiers gave it to us." He asked again, "Why?" They answered right away, "Are you dumb? With this, I can protect my mom." They said if we want to live free, we have to know how to use a weapon. His face suddenly darkened. Just then, Riso Ciaron came up from behind and called out to Jorat. The old man offered, "Would you care to have a little chat with me?" So, the 2 of them started talking as they walked. These people treat forbidden things like they're totally normal. Jorat was still trying to wrap his head around it all. Were they always like this? Riso calmly explained. The one thing I can say for sure is that they're human, just like us. The only difference is their way of life. His eyes started to look heavy. A different way of life? Isn't it just natural for nobles to rule with their knowledge and martial arts? If the common folk get educated and learn how to fight, who's going to put them down when they rise up? How are the nobles supposed to keep their status? Riso Ciaron immediately said, "The people here value strength, but at the same time, they never stop trying to expand their minds. I once asked them why they teach commoners to read and fight. Aren't they afraid of a rebellion? Do you know what they told me?" As he said this, the old man started to remember. One afternoon, he had a conversation with Gao Zhentian. A rebellion? Just don't let one happen. After hearing the story, Jorat was completely shocked. Then Riso added that, if you don't understand your reason for holding a sword, you can't win. If you don't know what you're protecting or why you have to win, then victory is meaningless. You have to understand it clearly. The answer is that if the people are educated, the rulers can't make mistakes. Jorat was even more blown away. What? The old man continued. At least, the master I serve believes so. A ruler must have a responsibility equal to their power. Turning your subjects into idiots will ultimately only destroy yourself and the country. On a bright, early morning, a piercing scream shattered the quiet air. It was the shrill cry of a cute little girl. The child just kept on wailing on the back of a court lady while everyone around her was trying everything to calm her down. Just then, Gao Zhentian slowly walked in. When they saw him, the maids immediately bowed respectfully. "You're here so early, my lord?" At that exact moment, the little girl stopped crying and looked straight at him. Then, she immediately started squirming, wanting him to hold her. The baby girl broke into a pure, sweet smile as she reached for him. He, on the other hand, looked pretty nervous and anxious. Just then, a rough hand patted his shoulder. It was his older brother. He gently reminded him, "Just hold her for a bit. Isn't Yiji desperately looking for you?" Hearing that, he quickly held out his arms, getting ready to pick the baby up. Once she was in his arms, the little girl beamed with a strange happiness. Having a tiny, cute baby snuggled up in his arms like that made him a bit flustered. Then that familiar voice spoke up again. That once faint breath now felt so heavy. It was the voice of his dear brother. Taking care of a living soul is a massive burden. Hearing that, Gao Zhentian quickly turned his head away without a word. His brother continued, "You will definitely be strong enough to bear it." Then, he gave a gentle smile, as warm as the morning sun, and encouraged him, "Don't be afraid, my dear brother, because you deserve to be in that position." Gao Zhentian was still frozen to the spot, completely still. The image of his gentle older brother vanished right before his eyes without a single goodbye. He then quickly spun around and faced the other way. All that was in front of him now was the presence of a small, innocent, pure little being. He just stood there, holding the baby girl in the vibrant morning sunlight, but his heart was filled with worries and concerns. A while later, he finally walked out of the palace. He stopped for a moment to take in the strange beauty of that morning. At that moment, he started to notice something. It was the sight of Fu Du being lovingly cared for by his beloved. Right now, his face was radiant, overflowing with a happiness and joy that was almost suffocating. When he turned to the other side, the sight of Mr. Wei Ji Wuluo happily walking towards the beautiful Haya was enough to move anyone's heart. The two of them were so disgustingly happy in their own little world, it made anyone who saw them swoon. And just like that, he's back to being a loner, staring up at the sky. He starts walking real slow, just strolling into this dense forest. When he looks up, he accidentally bumps into Jorat on the other side. He starts asking with this dead serious face, "Have you made your decision?" The other guy hears him and immediately reports all carefully, "Your subordinate requests to remain here." He's satisfied and praises the guy. "Excellent." That guy gives a slight bow, cracks this unreadable smirk, and then straightens up again. "Getting serious," he asked. "You said I could stay or go, but if I choose to leave, are you really going to just let me walk away in one piece?" The guy immediately shot back. "Not a chance." A flash of panic crossed his eyes. He stammered, You're gonna kill me?" The guy didn't even hesitate to admit it. Yeah. Now he was totally panicking inside. "I was just asking. I can't believe he just straight up said he'd kill me." He sounded completely hopeless. "Then why didn't you just make me choose between death and surrender from the start? Why lie to me?" He laid it out, plain and simple. "'Cause I have no use for cowards who are scared to die." Hearing that, he gritted his teeth, totally pissed. This dude's demands were ruthless, digging right into a person's soul. He started thinking about his people, even the pioneers. In his eyes, this guy was now a total thorn in his side. He thought to himself, "So that's why you demand such sincerity from them. If all your lackeys are like this, what's the endgame gonna be?" He didn't hold back and asked him straight up, "What do you want to use me for?" The guy instantly shut him down with one sentence, "I'm not gonna make you dig anyone's grave." A mysterious smirk played on his lips, and before he knew it, his knees hit the ground. He pleaded with genuine sincerity. "I, Jorat the Jorat Bolt, a free knight of the continent, swear to God that from this day forward, I will be my master's sword." The guy's expression was a total stone wall as he said sternly, "I will accept your creed." His eyes suddenly got this crazy serious look, like he was seeing something. "If I ever lose my way," he continued, "you are to follow that creed and cut me down without hesitation." Finally, Jorat got to his feet. He gave a slight bow as a final goodbye, then turned and walked away without looking back. His footsteps faded into the distance. Suddenly, a loud clattering sound echoed all around as he was silently plotting something. Then, boom, a whole squadron of badass knights in shining armor flew past him. It was his own dazzling image. It blew past him like the wind, leaving the guy frozen on the spot. You could see the surprise in his eyes, but also a ton of admiration. That illusion just drifted off toward the sunny horizon. Behind him, the guy was still watching his every step. As he watched him walk away, he thought with relief, "A dungeon, huh? Guess I don't have to worry about money for a while." Meanwhile, in some peaceful little artisan village, a beautiful, hard-working woman was calling out to her husband, who was holding their kid, "Honey, dinner's ready." Suddenly, the husband froze, like he'd noticed something, and immediately greeted someone with respect. "Ah, the Grand Ambassador." He walked over and smoothly complimented, "What a cute baby." This made the villager light up. "Thank you, sir." He spoke to him with shining eyes, choked up with gratitude. "It's all thanks to you, Grand Ambassador, that I have this home. I've been so happy lately." He responded with a look of admiration and the gentle patience of an ambassador. Nearby, the other villagers started noticing him and cheering, "The Grand Ambassador." Everyone there just dropped whatever they were doing to welcome him. He was happy to accept everyone's welcome. After a bit, they all went back to work, and he started to walk back too. Next, he went to the end of a bridge to check out the scenery, but his heart was heavy with sorrow. His eyes got this unusually thoughtful look. An image of Riso started to appear in his memories. He was explaining, "This is the Haiyan continent. It seems the master has broken through the wall of space." Then an image of Yanhui Jialin appeared, full of questions. "We don't know where this is. We don't even know if it's our old world." Then he started worrying about the people again, deep in thought. In times like these, giving the soldiers and the citizens a goal will be a source of mental support for them. And finally, the key piece of advice: you have to be decisive, sir. Back in reality, he was still frozen on that bridge, as dusk began to fall. His silhouette was cold, hard to read, and as deep in thought as a silent, mysterious ocean. The next morning, at a palace, a loud voice announced, "The Grand Ambassador has arrived." Yanhui Jialin was already in the palace, wondering, this isn't a strategy meeting, so why is he here? Just then, the guy strode in confidently, decked out in some majestic armor, his footsteps gliding across the floor. He walked up to the Grand Duke, who immediately asked respectfully, "You've arrived, sir." Yanhui Jialin, standing nearby, shot him a look, thinking to himself, But why is he wearing full armor like this? The guy turned his face away and gave a cold command. The Duke immediately snapped to attention. He turned back and said seriously, "Summon all vice commanders and higher, including Riso and Jorat." That command left them completely stunned. At that exact moment, Jorat and Riso were rushing over. They ran, totally confused. "Why are we being summoned so suddenly? Beats me. I haven't heard anything." Then the two of them ran straight into the palace, talking nervously. "Well, let's just go in and see what's up." When they opened the door, the scene before them was completely shocking. In front of them were thousands of soldiers standing dead serious in 2 lines. They were like, "What the hell is this?" All the soldiers were wearing imposing suits of armor. That got the two of them thinking, even an imperial council of nobles isn't this disciplined. In a corner, Weiji Wulu'u was watching everything with a grim face, which just made them even more confused. The commanders looked no different than regular soldiers standing before their king. In the middle, Gao Zhentian asked seriously, "Is everyone assembled?" Yan Hui Jialin, also suited up in armor now, answered clearly. Then, some guy brought over a mysterious wooden box. He cautiously carried it over to him. The box was set down, and as he began to open it, a brilliant red light burst out. He opened it with a dead serious expression, and every single soldier in the room, from the lowest to the highest rank, was completely overwhelmed by the sight. A mysterious aura carrying insane magical power radiated throughout the room. Jorat felt it, stunned, and started to wonder, what is this? What is this incredible pressure? Riso Ciaron, standing nearby, couldn't escape the profound shock either.